to bitch about the weather because this is where we live and it does rain, but
And rain.
a couple days in a row of this, and I understand why people snowboard.
Excuse me.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
You know what it's
Lot of
done?
rain.
It has made Jordan Schultz sick again.
Well, that candy ass, according to Dan Lanning, once again has made a choice.
He is out.
A choice to be sick, and quite frankly, I'm disgusted.
Yeah, so on short notice, it's the great, the indelible Will Ortner.
Who has made a choice to not be sick.
That's right. It's always a choice, right, Will? You're from the football world.
Yeah, I don't really get sick. I will show up, like with a runny nose. You'll have to make me go home.
Okay, well, there's a tough guy right
Well, that's
there.
not Rob. Rob will not show up with the runny nose. You have long had
I never get a runny nose. I would love to have just a runny nose. I never get a runny nose.
You're committed. You're all in. You're either all in or all out. But you have long been a well-established fan of the, hey, man, if you got the sniffles, stay home.
Just stay away from people. That's how stuff spreads.
Yeah.
Plus, you're around the kids and stuff.
But that's a choice to not show up when you got the sniffles.
Well, it is, and it's a good choice. But the kids, they're the disgusting ones.
Kids are foul.
Those are the ones I try to avoid.
Well, I will say that since my kids have moved past that stage, I don't get nearly as sick. When you got the little ones, or you're going to church,
just goes
or you're
around the house.
or you're taking them to teaching's another one.
Yeah,
you just see kids and they're just little snot factories.
Watched a kid eat a marker yesterday.
Oh,
it was fantastic.
Is it one of those scratch and sniff one sort of things?
No, he
just a regular marker.
Well, look, I went to school with mom and dad. Not a shocker.
Oh,
with his mom and dad.
Oh yeah.
Oh, so you're saying the apple doesn't fall far?
Yeah. So he's a bit of a dunce. He's flunking
Probably
social study.
He's an idiot.
Flunking.
Well, he's a first grader. He's not an idiot.
Yes, he
He's
is.
a first grader.
Why would he eat a marker?
You can be an idiot first grader.
Absolutely. They're all idiots.
The kid that's
every one of them. You tell every one of your first graders they're all idiots.
Some of them are pretty smart, dude.
Look, if you're eating markers, or you're the kid that's licking glue, or has mittens pinned to his jacket year round, look, I'm not saying that the die is cast for you, but look, you're probably working with a starting line and a finish line, to be honest with you, that's different than a lot of people. That's just the way it is.
See, I feel like they all have the potential to be smart, or some of them, but they're not yet. They're in first grade.
I don't know. But see,
You can be smart for a first grader, though.
This is where
you just added a qualifier.
Yeah.
You just said for a first grader.
You can be smart for a 20-year-old. You can be smart for a 40-year-old.
Well, right, but that's a different conversation. No,
I don't
first
think it
graders
is.
are all dumb.
If you're smart and you're 20, you're probably smart when you're 40. I mean, that's just like, you can talk about like emotional intelligence, but if you're a dumbass at 20, dude, by the time you get to 30 or 40, you're not magically going to have some sort of renaissance where all of a sudden you're breaking down like molecular codes. It's not the case.
Not necessarily that way, but you can be an idiot, and then as you mature in your late 20s to early 30s, all of a sudden you can be smarter that way.
That's not intelligence, Will. That's just common sense. Like, if you know that guy that's like doing rails of coke and hanging out with strippers when he's 20, hopefully he's not doing that when he's 35. That doesn't mean he got any smarter. It just means that he started making decisions not to die.
Well,
Like,
wouldn't that be smarter decisions?
That's not intelligence.
Boy, it's intense today already. We're 4 minutes in.
See, and I disagree with you on this one when you said everyone has a chance to be smart. No, they don't.
Well, I backtracked.
There are plenty of people.
I said some of them.
There are
some.
Yeah, there are plenty of people
piece of garbage
that just like I said, the finish line wasn't the I guess it'd be better. The starting line wasn't the same.
Yeah,
it just wasn't.
Mm-hmm. That's life.
You ever watch that like Making a Murderer sort of thing, or that kid?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, what was
Brennan Dassey?
Yeah, dude.
Well, he's mentally
but that's my point. There's a lot of people that are going through the system that are somewhere on that scale, and
that's why I walked it back a little bit. Look, I contend first graders are all morons, but they won't all end up being morons. How about that?
Yeah,
when you're in first grade, you're an idiot. You just are. You know nothing.
And you're eating markers.
And you think come on, they're eating. I rest my case.
Before
the court.
Although I'll sniff a marker a time or two. Some of those, remember,
they smell good.
Remember those old ones that would smell like grape and like cherry, and those things that's entrapment.
Can we go through the play-by-play of eating the marker? Like what kind of marker?
I think it was purple.
And was it more of an eat or was it more of a suck?
I think he just stuck it on his tongue, if I remember right. Like it was, hey, don't put that in your mouth. Don't put that in your mouth. Oh.
So he took the cap off and tasted it, basically.
Watch, Mr. Ortner. Bah.
Oh, he's showing off for you.
Well, I'm an impressive human being, dude.
What?
You are dealing with first graders.
Well, anyway, I wouldn't want that job.
No.
Would you?
No. I shouldn't be working with children. You really want me molding the youth of America? I'm all right. My kid, though, is now working with kids, and I never would have thought that was going to be a thing, ever.
They surprise you, don't they?
Yeah, that one absolutely stuns me, because if there was someone that hated kids, I'd give you my oldest daughter, and now she's over in Korea working with little kids, and she loves it. Kind of, that's like a holy hell. What? Couldn't see it coming. So people can still surprise you.
Well, you won't be seeing me working with kids anytime soon.
No, I can't see that
Except
happening.
for Will. I work with him.
He doesn't count as a kid.
He is a bit of a child. He's like that from, what is that, Lenny over there stroking the cats a little too hard.
Whoa.
Are you comparing me to the Of Mice and Men guy? Because that's messed
hey,
up.
I
Oh, you
can't
can't do
believe
that.
you
Dude,
knew.
this is an upset.
That
I
is
didn't
an
even
well
know
read.
that.
What are you talking about?
Shocker.
You knew that.
Shocking.
Will, that's great. Great pull.
Yeah, that is. We feel good for you now.
I thought that would sail right over your head.
100%.
But it didn't.
No.
And it's a little harsh, I will
Yeah,
say.
it
I'm
is.
good
That's
at
a little-
book stuff.
Well,
dude.
good
What?
at book stuff.
I'm good at book stuff,
No, you're
man.
not.
Yeah, you're big in that,
99 percentile SAT reading. What up?
that Scholastic America order
Call
that you
me.
filled out. Yeah.
Student athlete of the year.
Well, I apologize now for that, because I did not think that Will would understand it. So I take it back. I
Sorry
should have
that
just
I
mentioned a
understand words.
barometer or something.
Yeah, was that offensive to you, Will? I feel like it should have been.
Well, I mean, I think it should be offensive to a lot of people.
Well, I could have made like a sloth comment or something, but you know.
I didn't watch that movie.
Oh, there you go.
You know,
Who would have thought that I could go sloth and have been fine, but I went Of Mice and Men, and that's the one he
if
gets.
you made me bet on that, and I bet my life,
I would have lost.
Sports gun, I'm dead.
Absolutely.
I
So you
actually
haven't
read
seen
a lot.
You haven't seen Goonies?
No, I don't watch movies.
Oh, you're like me.
Boy, and
I'm not a huge movie guy.
the idea of Will reading anything, I'm not gonna lie, that's
I
another.
read Aragon in a day.
It's a bit of an upset.
We need to put together a bragging montage from Will.
Yeah, it's
There's a lot of brags going on over there.
It's not humble brag. I'm just defending myself.
I didn't even say humble. I just said brag.
I'm out here
Yeah,
getting
there was-
attacked
Yeah, there was no humble
for my
implied.
reading skills.
No one's attacking you, Will. You got to calm down. We love you, and we're happy you're here.
I am calm.
And we're worried about Schultze. He's dying again. He was just sick, and now he's sick again. So all hell's breaking loose over
And I think he's going to be sick again on Friday. I think he's prearranging a sickness.
Yeah, that was a little weird. The email today was, "Hey, boss, I just want to let you know I'm out today. I just can't fight this off." And then, oh, by the way, I'll be out Friday, too.
Well, that's been in the
Wait.
works. I thought he already told you guys.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've known about Friday for like a
So,
while.
but he's just
So he's not sick on Friday.
No, he's fighting off the illness on a Tuesday. He's going to be fine on Wednesday and Thursday, and then he's taking Friday.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's a yeah. Never mind.
It's a good life being a radio producer.
Apparently, come and go.
Hey,
as
you and I are
please.
out of here soon, right?
Well, yeah, you like sooner than I.
Next week.
Yeah, I got to put in a couple extra days because I'm no you. But then,
Well, I'm
then
glad I'm
off.
here this week because it's a big week. There's a lot going on.
We talk about the greatness that is Jake Browning. Look,
Fun
I
stuff.
owe Jake Browning an apology.
We all do.
Because like if you saw his one start and then the fill-in where he came in where Burrow got hurt, and I do believe the exact quote I had last night was Jake Browning sucks. And then Jake Browning went out and did not suck. That was a very Will Ortner-esque, I owe you an apology. Didn't see that one coming, not familiar with your game.
You know what we learned there again? This is another sort of lesson for us. This happens a lot, I think.
Yeah.
Where you get when the backup quarterback, most backup quarterbacks go into a game mid-game, dude,
Yeah,
it's
buckle
going to
up.
be terrible because they didn't game plan with that quarterback in mind. But when they get the week to prepare a game plan with the backup, it always goes much better.
Well, but last week they had a week to prepare for it, and he sucked then
Who'd
too.
they play last week?
I'll have to look it up, but it was not pretty.
Are you sure he had 1 week in there?
I think he had a week.
I thought he came into the game for. Well, maybe you're right because Burrow went down. A couple
that was
weeks
that was the Steeler game, right? That Burrow came because Burrow got hurt against the Ravens, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm pretty sure that this is.
Yeah, and that was a disaster when he
Yes.
came into that game.
Yeah, Browning last week.
So he did? Okay, so
yeah.
he had 2 weeks.
Yeah.
All right.
He had
All right.
2 weeks. And somehow in that second week, well, first off, let's also not forget that we got the matchup that we all wanted when we saw the Jags and the Bengals on the schedule, which is Beathard versus Browning. I mean,
Isn't that amazing?
Don't give me any of this Burrow Lawrence thing. No, give me Beathard and the greatness that is Jake
and now
Browning.
the Beathard era has become, right?
Yeah.
The era has become.
Yeah, we don't know what's happening with his ankle, but it's not broken. They said it's just a high ankle sprain. So
I tell you, I don't know if there are Jags fans, but if there are, they got to be pulling their hair out.
that was tough.
The Jags are so weird. Like
and
you
Kirk
think,
is out for a significant amount of time too.
you just think they're pretty good, and then
Yeah.
and then it's like, what?
Then they lose to Jake Browning.
Yeah.
And not just lose to Jake Browning, but they make Jake Browning look like Joe Burrow. Like you just don't.
How many did he throw for last night?
He went 32 of 37 for 354 and 1 tutty.
Wow.
Yeah. Jake Browning. That Jake Browning.
But I tell you,
And
if
then
you're a
afterwards,
Husky-
Browning tried to pull the old, yeah, no big deal. I've won a lot of football.
Well, you got to
games.
act like you've been there before.
And he did.
You're a Husky. Things are looking up for you
Oh, yeah.
on all fronts right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Find me the worst thing in Husky land right now.
I don't know. Maybe like the women's softball team. I don't know. Are they
they
not any
bad?
good? Well, the basketball has been a mess for a while.
Yeah, what's up with that?
I'll tell you right now, football. Everything in UW's football world is coming up purple. It's freaking great.
All right.
Although
Well,
everyone's upset, the Husky fans are all butthurt now because Nix is the first team quarterback and the player of the year as opposed to Penix. So I guess that
that's not even controversial.
it really shouldn't be, but of course they're using it as some sort of slight and
Oh, for God's sakes.
gotta have some motivation.
Get over yourselves,
Got some
Huskies.
motivation.
Go, you won fair and square again.
Exactly.
Go on to the playoff.
But now you got to complain that
Shut up.
Bo Nix, who had a better year. I mean, it's really not.
These people.
It's really not any sort of argument.
No, he was exactly.
But, yes, but
I mean,
they're
come on.
that's their big one today.
No,
is
it would have
their-
been Penix if those 5 or 6 games right there in the middle.
Yeah,
If he played better in those games,
he wasn't good.
it would be Penix.
Yeah,
But it wasn't.
no, he's playing with busted ribs.
You
What do
can't
want?
have it all,
And we found out we still haven't gotten the full admission.
or
on,
can you?
I guess you can, but it's not happening right now. we haven't gotten the full admission of Penix, but they did say that Adunze broke a rib at Arizona and had to be driven home because he couldn't fly on the plane because he nicked his lung.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, we knew that. We
Yeah.
talked about that.
They're finally starting to open up and about how hurt some of their guys were this season, and so we're just waiting eventually for someone to be like, yeah,
Wait,
all right.
whoa. My fearless leader says that's a choice.
It's a choice to have busted ribs.
All right, well, we got to get going here. Coming up next, we're going to get to our poll question that pertains to college football, and we've got a lot of movement on the quarterback transfer portal front. So, all right, 3:13 on the Fan.
It's the Fan on Demand.
I'm going to give it to you.
is the stupidest rebranding of all time.
It's brought to you by AAA Heating and Cooling, a family business helping families for over 60 years. AAAIAQ.com. Yesterday, we asked you, how tough was the Pac-12 championship loss to Washington? The toughest of losses, 36%. That led the way.
Yeah, it's going to haunt you for a while.
26% said tough, more like awesome. Those are the Duck haters. Then you got 19%, a tie. Hurts, but it happens. And tip your cap and move on.
Well, look at that. Some reasonable Duck fans.
Yeah. So about a third hates the Ducks.
Yeah.
The other third thought the loss was the toughest you could have. And then the other third was like, meh.
I guess, I mean, it could be worse because, like, Florida State fan is never going to let this go. Meanwhile, everyone has literally let it go other than you. I mean, that's the weird part about, like, these things is for 99% of us, whether it's the Oregon game, whether it's what happened to Florida State, you wake up the next day and it's over. You're like, whatever. Like, you know, the Florida State AD pens that letter about how it's the worst thing that's ever happened and the trust has forever been broken. And collectively for 24 to 48 hours, people were on board with that. And then we're like, meh, we moved on.
Do you think
Florida State's making shirts? If you can't beat us,
well,
cheat us. It's actually kind of a clever shirt.
Yeah, that's good. They should. Look, I don't expect him to let it go this fast. I expect you to let it go, as I have. And I'm loading up on Georgia, by the way. But do you think that will it ever come into play where the committee is like, oh, man, we need to do Florida State a solid? Like when they're deciding some of these teams in the next, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 25 years.
Well, I mean, now it's going to be pretty easy because of the.
I know, but let's just say there's something comes up where a little nudge to Florida State.
Look, I think makeup calls, we all know were a real thing.
Yeah. You think they'll do it?
Because I do believe, like, did you read the article about the committee when the decision they were making? Yeah. That was not taken lightly.
No, like, God, no. They hated the fact that they had to do that.
So everyone is going to have this grandiose conspiracy that the SEC and the Big Ten and ESPN, everyone's twisting their handlebar mustaches. I believe when you and I don't remember who wrote the piece, but it was on ESPN. That was not a something that they took lightly. They knew what they were about to do, and it sucked. But they had a tough choice to make, and they made it. But yes, so I do think that there is going to be, if they ever need it, I think there is going to be a card that they can play like an Uno reverse draw for. That is going to be in Florida State's pocket for a while.
So it's like, look at the bright side, Seminoles. You will probably never get screwed over again.
No. And you know what? I have seen a couple writers, and I actually think this would be kind of neat if they did this.
Neat.
Well, the college football playoff is awarded to whoever wins the college football playoff, but there's still an AP, right? And it's never not lined up. But back in the day, we used to have split titles. We did it with Georgia Tech and Colorado. Washington has a split one. I think it would be kind of, if Florida State beats Georgia, and I'm an AP voter, right? And
they them number one,
and they beat Georgia. Yeah, I would. I'd put them number one, and I actually think it'd be kind of cool to see Florida State voted number one and actually get a split championship. You beat Georgia, especially with your backup quarterback, when apparently it matters to Georgia. That's what they've said. I would. I would give Florida State the nod.
First of all, they're not beating Georgia.
No, they're not.
Second, isn't that a bit like vacated wins? Like, okay, that's cute for you, but no one recognizes it that way.
No.
You weren't in the playoff.
But if you did get a split, if the AP awarded it, then technically you would be able to claim a legit national championship.
If that's what they need, I would vote for that.
Yeah.
That's fine.
That's what
it doesn't matter.
Well, it's not going to happen. Georgia will beat them, but
I think Georgia will beat them.
I think so too. And I'm with you. I'm loading up on Georgia.
Yeah. I mean, come on, dude. Yeah. 13 points?
I don't think Florida State's going to score 13 points.
Exactly. That's what like when you play against that kind of defense, how is Florida State?
They didn't move the ball against
the only way they
at all.
Yeah. I mean, I think the only way they stay close is if Georgia doesn't show up, but I think Georgia's kind of pissed off.
Yeah.
They're kind of using this whole thing. It's kind of a little contrived, but
sure.
They're using this whole thing of, we should be in this tournament. Let's go and show.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big time BCS game where both sides equally want to prove something, and that doesn't happen very often.
See, I could see Florida State going the other way, and that's great. This tees up our poll question perfectly. And today, the poll question on X is, who should be least interested in their own bowl game? Oregon against Liberty.
That's pretty good.
USC against Louisville.
That's even better.
Florida State against Georgia.
No.
Or Georgia against Florida State.
Look, that's an equal parter for me. That's 50-50. Like, if I'm Oregon, I could give two flying you-know-whats. I think I might care about the in-season tournament more than I do about that game. And that's NBA? Saying something because I don't care about the in-season tournament at all.
Who's in it?
Indiana and New Orleans moved on. Halliburton had a big triple-double, and so everyone now is freaking out over that.
Halliburton's a great name.
Yeah, that is a good name.
I would just like to state that.
It's an evil company, but,
on the radio. It's a cool-sounding name.
It's a cool-sounding name.
Yeah.
And then the USC, yes, there you go. Well, how many USC fans are going to go to that game?
Well, there's different archetypes of
not caring.
Yeah, one is Oregon had their eye on the biggest prize, and now they play Liberty. Okay, so that's just like the fall in what you thought you were going to get to that.
It's unbelievable.
Is the most intense. USC, it's like your year has just been kind of a mess. I mean, they won 7 games, but
USC should just decline that.
It's kind of a mess. Caleb Williams isn't playing, and you're playing Louisville. And then the Florida State Georgia thing is totally different. Georgia's just coming off 2 championships. They don't get into the tournament. They don't care. They're playing Florida State with a backup quarterback. I don't think that's true, but that's why that's on there.
Yeah.
And then the other one, Florida State. They got so wronged by not being in that tournament. Like, I could see them being the least interested of anybody because they're just like, screw this whole thing.
If I was Florida, I'm just putting me in those shoes because I played in 3 bowl games and I can assure you I cared about none of those. And I mean none. There was...
I'm sure your BYU brethren love to hear that.
0-3. I think that was collectively.
Who'd you play? Marshall was one.
We played 2. I have been part of 2 undefeated seasons because the Marshall Thundering Herd with Chad Pennington, we were their capstone to their undefeated season. And Tulane with Sean King. We were the capstone to their undefeated season.
Remember that?
Yes. I mean, it is documented. We had a mutiny on the field against Marshall where our right guard, Matt Johnson, fought our quarterback in the huddle on ESPN, and they comment.
There's video.
There's video of it.
We've talked about this.
Yeah,
and aren't you in that huddle?
Yeah, it's spectacular. The meltdown that and by the way, I wouldn't say anything to Matt. He was terrified. He was like 6'5", like 340.
So basically,
he was a pig farmer.
What you're saying is BYU should be playing Liberty, not Oregon.
Yes. And then Liberty could have their great win.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, for those 2 teams like Marshall and Tulane, it was a big deal because we were a top 20 team. We were an established program. And it was like their biggest win of the year. Like, hey, we really were undefeated. We belong.
Well, you don't think this is the big deal to Liberty?
That's what I'm saying.
It's the biggest game they've ever played.
It's the biggest, and maybe Oregon is better because Oregon obviously is better than we were. But we showed up to those games and we're like, where's the bar? And can I not get caught? And
that's
whatever.
A danger for Oregon.
And we got our asses handed.
Now they're not going to lose, I don't think, to Liberty.
I don't think so because they're just so much more talented.
But the potential to not show.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't even show against Washington.
No, for a quarter, maybe.
Well, that was unfair. But they in
the second half.
They didn't look very good right out of the gate.
Yeah, no, they didn't.
But Liberty wants, I don't know.
Yeah.
Liberty is a cute little game.
Liberty is going to come out with their hair on fire.
Yes, they can't wait. And they don't have the athletes, but you better believe they feel that they do.
Yeah.
And they want to prove that it's like that Boise State, Oklahoma
They are
game.
going to come out and give you everything they got.
So what was your third one?
Louisville.
Oh.
Who also kicked our ass. And you know what? They might have been undefeated too. That was Dave Ragone, I believe. I might have been a part of 3 undefeated seasons. Come to think of it, I'd have to go back and look at that. But yeah, we weren't. It was bad news. So I can tell you that the not caring about a bowl game
it's very real.
Is very very real.
USC has the potential to lose.
Yes,
to Louisville.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. That's your poll. It's on X. At 1080 The Fan, who should be least interested in their own bowl game? Oregon, USC, Georgia, or Florida State? The Vancouver Ford text line can be reached at 503-864-6326. Your dollar goes further at Vancouver Ford. They treat you right before, during, and after the sale. VancouverFord.com. Up next, we've got movement in the transfer portal quarterback game.
And there's a lot of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of. I mean, nobody's made decisions yet, but it's kind of galvanizing where some of these guys may go.
Well, we're getting visits now.
Visits, which means bags.
And how much are you willing to give me?
and Hots.
Yeah. By the way, Louisville not undefeated. So,
okay.
The year they kicked our ass in the Liberty Bowl.
Okay. We'll get to that coming up next. But first, let's go to Mr. Will Ortner with SportsCenter.
Now, from the
6:45.
And that reminded me, Oregon is in the exact same position that USC was last year. And USC lost that game.
Yeah.
Because USC was playing in the Pac-12 championship game, needed to beat Utah to try to get into the tournament.
Lose.
They lost, and then went to a New Year's Six Bowl against the top group of 5 team. That's why Tulane was in there.
Yeah.
And that's why Liberty's in there.
Yeah.
Exact same scenario as Oregon.
It is true.
And USC lost that game.
Yeah,
and USC was really good last year.
And Caleb Williams played. Their offense showed up. Like I said, they scored 40+ points, but in a shocker, their defense didn't show up.
I still think Tulane has a different level of kid than Liberty.
I would agree,
but I may be wrong about it. I don't know if that's true.
Well, Tulane actually plays real teams, and
right. And Liberty is like another level lower.
Yeah, they're playing like the New Mexico States and Buffaloes of the world. So
yeah. So I don't. Yeah.
I still think Oregon rolls that game, but we'll see.
That's very interesting. And Dwayne brought this up yesterday on the text line, but the loser of the Pac-12 championship game is 0-11 in their bowl games.
So something.
They're 0-11. They've never won. Whoever loses the Pac-12 championship game has never won their bowl game.
That is kind of shocking.
Isn't that wild?
It is a little wild. Now, a lot of times that game isn't necessarily between two great teams because, they used to have the divisions. Remember the one there UCLA played in it? They weren't even 500.
Yeah, that's
They needed to win the Pac-12 title game to be 500, and they didn't.
That's when they played it at the school of the higher seed, right?
Yeah, and then
I think that was at Autzen. I want to say.
I think it was because I think Oregon played UCLA in that game, and then they moved it to Santa Clara, and no one came.
Yeah, the Washington-Utah game.
It's the worst game you've ever seen in your life. It was played in the fog, and I think the only touchdown scored in that game was a Washington defensive touchdown. I think like McDuffie took one back, if I'm not mistaken. It set offensive football back like 10. Washington won. I think they won like 10-3. Somewhere Iowa was looking at that game, being like, "Your offenses are terrible."
Well, the Pac-12 has come a long way. I know Stuart Mandel wrote about this, but. That atmosphere, Oregon, Washington, and Masters Pete was there. He was texting me. He said, dude, it was loud as hell in there. Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
Vegas is so much, it's such a better place than San Francisco.
Them building that stadium and inviting the Pac-12. Like, the Pac-12, if you just think about how far it's come from just the start of its championship game to that game, it's a long way. It's kind of a shame that,
Yeah, it just sucks with the
way. The end of it.
Yeah, the momentum of it. And now you have SoFi as well, and you're going to get more neutral site games in Vegas and SoFi. It just, it shouldn't have gone the way it did, but, there's no putting Pandora back in the box.
Follow-up, if I may. Did you read the hot tinfoil hat Florida State conspiracy?
No, I don't think so. What's that?
Well, that is that Florida State was left out because Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida,
Meatball Ron,
has been battling he's been battling with Disney, and Disney owns ESPN.
The moment you said that, I was like, if you don't know, DeSantis has been waging a war
against Disney.
He canceled Disney's unique status. They were like their own little entity. They governed themselves, and all over the whole Disney go woke broke thing. And it's been a whole big pissing match. And let me tell you, if Disney did that, I'm sorry, that's hilarious.
Disney poking their head into the college football. Like, can you imagine like Mickey Mouse just rolls into the college football playoff selection committee and drops his huge wang on the table and says, "Here's what we're gonna do, guys." God, we own you.
I love a good conspiracy theory.
There's that one. The other conspiracy.
Is it possible too that just no one believed that you could win with your quarterback? So but this is why these conspiracy theories are so dumb, because again, if Jordan Travis hadn't gotten hurt, this would never be a thing. You couldn't even begin to argue it. And I stand by this statement 100%. Had they blown out Louisville, or had they just scored a bunch of points, let's say that game is 45-41, you're in. It's just that your offense looked so anemic that you gave them a reason to doubt you. And that has nothing to do with Meatball Ron. I wish it did. I think it'd be hilarious. But you can't have a conspiracy theory when there's a clear there was a clear path for you to not get screwed over.
Why are you being so rational?
I know.
This is college football, dude.
Todd McShay said that he thought if
Todd McShay.
Yes, but he said that he thought if Penix had gotten hurt but UW won, that they wouldn't put UW in, they would put Georgia in. He thinks it's like the same idea for UW and Florida State. UW's quarterback just stayed healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an element of that.
Is Todd McShay still like I haven't seen him for years.
He's on Russillo's show every Monday.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And Russillo has a show on what?
Russillo's like a top 5 sports podcast. He's with The Ringer, dude.
Oh, podcast. He's with The Ringer, dude?
Yeah.
Nice.
No,
not just
the
the
ringer,
but the ringer, dude.
bro.
Wow.
Bro.
That's what the show's going to be today, huh, boys?
That's that student athlete of the year coming in there with the ringer, dude.
No, he's with the ringer, comma, dude.
I didn't know that. Ryan Russillo, last I heard from him, he was getting drunk and sleeping in other people's beds.
Yeah, that was a great one.
Which was fantastic.
Yeah. By the way, McShay was laid off in the cuts, the ESPN cuts.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. He used to be the draft guy, right? And now he's.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah, he was laid off on.
It just threw me for a loop. He said
ESPN
Todd McShay said something. I'm like, wait, I thought he was maybe dead.
It was on the Dude podcast.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. And that's, I mean, we don't need to debate that because it didn't happen. No. But, I mean, I see where he's coming from. I think that could possibly be right.
Sure. Look, if Washington had been white knuckling it the way they had, and I totally can see that. If Penix had broken something, then you could have said that about a lot of teams. Like, I mean, Oregon should feel pretty fortunate because if that had been an ugly or a controversial win, there's no guarantee that Oregon would have found their way in. I could have easily seen them been like, well, Florida State's in, they're undefeated, and Alabama won the SEC, and so Oregon, screw you, Pac-12, thanks for coming. Like, just someone eventually was going to get the short end of the stick. It just happened to be Florida State. Although you know what that may do is that may speed up the demise of the ACC. Because there's all kinds of rumors floating around about that. If you want to go into cuckoo conspiracy theories.
That was going to be my next one, is they're saying that this controversy was a tipping point for them to break the ACC up.
Yeah.
That's why they did it.
Which actually may be a good thing but that's the thing is ESPN doesn't want the ACC broken up. This is, again, why conspiracy theories are so dumb.
Damn it.
The reason, conspiracy theory people, just please, think rationally and then go off the deep end. The ACC is locked up in the most team or company-friendly deal that you could possibly have. ESPN owns your ass for isn't it? I want to say it's for the next 12 or 13 years.
Isn't it 2032?
It's a long ass time that they have you, and they have you on the cheap. And the whole reason why everyone wants out of that deal is because that you can get much more money elsewhere. And ESPN's like, yeah, no, we like you right where you're at. You give us a ton of programming and you're cheap, so shut up and stay there. So why would ESPN want to break up a massive programming haul for them on the cheap when ESPN is so concerned about money? It just doesn't make any sense. But I have seen where Florida State, Miami, was it North Carolina, Clemson are all are now being like, dude, we can't stay here.
Yeah.
Because we can go undefeated, which again is a stupid argument because 99.9% of the time, if you go undefeated and you don't get your quarterback with his leg snapped, you're in. And now with the 12-team playoff, you're not going to get screwed over. But there is that talk that they're now going to be like, screw this, we got to get out of the ACC. And like everyone else, we got to get into the Big Ten or we got to get into the SEC. And this is the way college football is going. And now we've got a new proposal today, supposedly coming from the president of the NCAA.
Oh, yeah, that's in my notes.
There's a whole other thing that we got.
I don't really know what they're doing here, but we'll get to that.
College sports is, as much as it's changed over the last 3 years, this is nothing. We know that there's multiple court cases going through the federal system right now that could fundamentally change college football forever. And the NCAA is going to try to head those off at the pass and try to find a way to keep their amateur status somewhat. And there is a radical proposition from the head of the NCAA, the new president, that would forever change college sports.
We'll get to that coming up. Portal News is next. It is 3:43 on The Fan.
Yeah. The home of dirt
visits.
But it is a bit like free agency in that all the college football insiders, this is like their Super Bowl, where they're going on all these shows like, I'm hearing that there are 3 suitors for this guy or that guy or whatever. So here's what I jotted down from the Pete Thamel report. Mm-hmm. He said that Dillon Gabriel, the Oklahoma quarterback, will be visiting Oregon this weekend, and that Oregon has emerged as the front runner for Dillon Gabriel.
Yeah, originally there was a lot of talk, apparently, that USC, with the connection to Oklahoma was going to be a thing, and then now you're hearing so much of Oregon, and when they said sometime this week he will be making a trip. I just love now that we have portal trips.
Yeah,
recruiting
we got to go visit
and portal trips.
Now, Thamel said that DJ Uiagalelei has 3 key suitors. They are Florida State, Mississippi State, and Louisville.
Yeah. So back to the ACC, perhaps.
Not Michigan State.
No. Michigan State, by all account, appears to be Aiden Childs. So
yeah, and Smith would want him over DJ Uiagalelei.
Well, Childs isn't going to sit for another year. So my guess is
wherever he goes, he plays.
Wherever he goes, Childs is going there with the idea that he's going to be the starter. And I also think that DJ doesn't necessarily want to compete with Aiden Childs. And DJ supposedly could test the NFL waters as well, but I'm not certain what that grade's going to come back. I mean, the weird part about some of these guys is you're going to be actually worth more money staying in college than you will the NFL.
Yeah. He's probably one of those.
Yeah, for some of these guys, the NFL quarterback route is going to be mid-round to late pick and fighting to try to be a third roster spot guy. No one's going to be throwing a bunch of money at you, and for some of these places, you can end up with $1 million, maybe $2 million and a car deal and some other things thrown your way. So, it's actually kind of beneficial for some of these guys that aren't big-time NFL prospects to stick around.
I would assume Jordan Travis is going pro?
Jordan Travis is going pro.
Yeah, so Florida State, there is an opening.
Yeah.
And then, what was the other one? Oh, Riley Leonard. He reported that a lot of schools that are in the sniffing around the portal for a quarterback, they're backing off of Riley Leonard.
Yeah.
And so I don't know why. He didn't say why, but it sounds like Notre Dame still wants him, and he's there visiting, and he is likely to land with the Irish.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because, his coach ended up at Texas A&M. And so a lot of people were like, well, does he just go to A&M? And I'd be interested to know why people are shying away. At the start of the year, he was viewed as a first-round guy. And then he kind of had a up and down year, and he was beat up a little bit, but be interested to kind of hear exactly why some people are there health concerns, or I don't know why they're kind of pulling away from that.
The other one is merely rumor. This is not Pete Thamel, but Ryan Clark of ESPN. Did you see what he accidentally tweeted?
Yeah. So, and then he immediately deleted it.
Yeah.
Because someone asked about why, when we talked about this, why McCord left Ohio State. Ohio State had a bunch of people enter the portal, and we tried to tell you yesterday that, and same thing with most of the Oregon kids, they aren't guys that really fit into the plans. Like half of these kids that end up in the portal are because their coaches tell them, we don't want you anymore. And so when McCord left, I kind of assumed that meant that Ohio State was moving on from McCord, who did not necessarily have a great year. And so someone posed that question on Twitter, why did McCord leave? And Ryan Clark answered it.
And he said, his tweet was the Washington State quarterback transferred there.
Yeah.
And then he deleted it because the Washington State quarterback did not transfer there. What does he know? Cam Ward could be going to Ohio State.
So
that's fun.
Yeah, that's a bit of an upgrade. Well, I'd say it's a bit of an upgrade for Ohio State. And a massive upgrade for Cam Ward. No offense to Washington State, but
who will get Kyle McCord?
Maybe that's one of those things you just kind of trade off.
So who is the best? Is Dillon Gabriel better than Cam Ward?
I feel like Dillon Gabriel is the best quarterback in the portal, yes.
Okay, so are those the top 2?
Yeah, as of right now. And then Riley Leonard, I don't know why Riley Leonard is getting pushed so far down. I haven't seen any reason why, but I would assume Riley Leonard is very high. And then if you're looking for the future, I think Aiden Childs is a guy that a lot of people are very, very high on, simply because he's got years to play. And then Dante Moore as well. I know.
Yeah, where's he going to go? I haven't seen anything on him.
I don't know. And it didn't necessarily look great at UCLA, but he was a 5-star kid and at one point considered maybe the best dual threat quarterback in the country. So I would assume that he would be a very, very attractive guy, because there's a difference between getting, Gabriel and getting Riley Leonard, where you're getting him for 1 year. It's a rent-a-player, come in, plug and play, ready to go. Whereas if you're Jonathan Smith and you're looking to try to build something, or let's say Dante Moore, and you're trying to go somewhere.
What about Oregon State?
Yeah.
His quarterback's coach just went there.
I mean, he's not going to Oregon State.
They don't have the money.
They might get the Michigan State kid, though.
Yeah.
The guy from West Lynn, Levitt.
A
lot of people are really high on Levitt.
Yeah.
Levitt. Okay.
Mm-hmm. He seems kind of like that third guy of those young guys between him, Childs, and Dante Moore.
Did they have to pay Levitt? Is that like an NIL deal?
Yeah.
To get him to come there?
I think at this point, to get anyone that's a quarterback that has options, you got to pay. Now, obviously, he's not going to be.
But if he's going to Oregon State, he's not getting.
You're not getting
top dollar.
You're not getting top dollar, but you still have to pay. I mean, that's just no one's going anywhere for free anymore.
All right.
It's just not a. It's not a thing. I mean, why would you go somewhere
I'll tell you what,
for free?
If Cam Ward ends up at Ohio State and Dylan Gabriel ends up at Oregon, if you're the Ducks, you got to feel great about that, because one way to get over on Washington is to get a better portal QB.
Yes.
Like, those teams are pretty close, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, they've played really good games each of the last 3.
Yeah.
It sounds like Washington's going to get Will Rogers, the kid from Mississippi State.
Yep.
If Oregon gets Dylan Gabriel, maybe you have the advantage in that department, whereas this year it seemed to be, I mean, I don't know. I think slightly more of Penix than I do Nix. They're both really, really good, but Penix outplayed Nix.
Yeah.
So maybe if you flip the script on that position via the portal, maybe that's how you get over on Washington finally.
Yeah. I mean, look.
Because Dylan Gabriel would be a hell of a get.
In this day and age, getting a quarterback in the portal for some of these teams is the difference between, it's the difference between being a contender and being an afterthought. I mean, as good as DeBoer has done at Washington, take Penix off of that team. And I'd say the same thing about Bo Nix. When Bo Nix was brought in, everyone thought that he was a bridge quarterback. Take Bo Nix off this team. And now, to be fair, if you took Bo Nix off, maybe someone else comes in and it's different. But does anyone, and I mean anyone, think that Washington or Oregon is sitting here this season talking about national title aspirations if Bo Nix and Michael Penix aren't here?
No, it just kind of feels like it's all about quarterback.
It makes
look at Florida State.
Well, and the days of winning really without one, I found it hilarious that like Greg McElroy was like talking about not being able to win without a quarterback. Alabama won a national title, and I think Greg McElroy in the championship game threw 14 passes. He was like 8 of 14, and they won a national title. But those days are gone. Like, even Nick Saban, the curmudgeonest, saltiest bastard this side of Bill Belichick, even he, a number of years ago, was like, crap, I can't do this anymore. The days of winning with offense in a run game, they're done. Alabama has quarterbacks. Ohio State, the Craig Krenzels of the world don't cut it at Ohio State anymore.
McCord, that's why he got cut.
Exactly. Kyle McCord led them to the doorstep of a perfect season. Remember, if he doesn't get hit in there, there's a good chance they're driving down to beat Michigan. And at the end of the year, they went to McCord, who was either a redshirt freshman or a redshirt sophomore. I forget which one this year. And Ohio State told him, thanks for the 11-1 record, but you get your ass out of town because we're finding someone else. The day and age of average quarterback play is done. You are right. The NFL is all about quarterbacks, and college football has become all about quarterbacks.
If Kyle McCord beats Michigan, like if he gets 30 more yards on that drive and doesn't throw an interception, is he still at Ohio State?
No.
You think they still upgrade?
I think they still would have moved on.
They'd be in the playoff.
And that's even weirder.
They'd be in the playoff.
They'd be in the playoff. And I still think that at the end of the year, I don't know. I still think at the end of the year, they would have gone and told him, you can stay. And I'm sure this is what they did. You can stay and compete, but we are going to bring someone else in, and it is not your job. And McCord looked at it and was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm sure he was insulted, and he has every right to be insulted. But Ryan Day isn't here to play, I don't want to hurt your feelings.
Yeah, he's kind of desperate at this point.
Yeah, well, I mean, Ty Thompson, as far as I know, Ty Thompson hasn't entered the portal. I haven't heard any big talk about Ty Thompson entering the portal. And Ty has dealt with a lot of crap at Oregon. And he was a 5-star kid that came in, and people have been bagging on him, and people love to give him hell. And he's looked very good this year in mop-up time. Hasn't been any significant snaps, but he's looked very good. You hear good things about him from the coaches. And I'm sure Ty Thompson is sitting around being like, hey, it is my freaking time to go. But if Dylan Gabriel comes in, guess what, Ty? I don't think it's your time to go. I think your ass is over there on the bench again. And that sucks for that kid. But it's the reality of it. And maybe he gets a chance to compete, and maybe he does beat out Dylan Gabriel. But when they go out and pay $2.5 million, maybe even $3 million to go get Dylan Gabriel, because that's what it's going to take to go get him, he is coming in with an expectation, and Oregon is bringing him in with an expectation that he is your starting quarterback.
Isn't it wild that October 5th next year in Autzen, you're going to have Jonathan Smith and maybe Aiden Childs?
Yeah.
And then October 12th, you could have Cam Ward in Ohio State.
So weird.
It's so weird.
It's so weird.
All of this.
Well, next year when we're getting ready to do media days and there is no Pac-12 media day and we're covering Big Ten media day, that'll be the one that really just it will be a very surreal moment.
Can't wait to hear you sitting down with Kirk Ferentz.
Oh, I'm going to talk about the cowardly move to get rid of his son. I'm going to say I was your son's biggest fan. 5 games in a row, baby, the under.
He didn't uphold his contractual agreements, though.
I don't care.
Had to fire him.
Punts. I wait till
That's right.
That's the only thing I'm asking. We don't really do Christmas presents at my house anymore, but you better believe I'm asking for one thing, and that's just a sweatshirt, an Iowa sweatshirt that just says punts. I want the little Iowa logo right at the neck, and below it, punts.
All right, what's this NCAA thing that came out today? We'll get to that next on The Fan.
I'm Joe Ostrowski, here to help you beat the books with
Oregon, but it's not so beautiful today because it won't stop raining. As a matter of fact, you will hear in the news coming up here that it is flooding everywhere and we're all going to die.
Yeah, apparently it's not going to stop either.
Very strong rain.
My special lady friend, her brother lives in India, and I guess they're having like horrific flooding. So like we were bitching about the rain, and then he sent us some photos of like where he lives, and we're like, okay, we'll shut up. They got like 3.
He trumped you.
He did. He trumped me.
Up to you.
They got like 3 feet of water like going down, like cars are getting washed away like on the street, and I was like, I'll shut up now.
Like real flooding.
Yeah, like real flooding.
We don't have much flooding here, but out on the coast,
yeah,
it's gotten bad.
Well, like we got like 5-6 inches of rain coming down out there.
That's crazy, bro.
Yeah. What did you used to say about the coast in the winter? It was lovely.
I like the coast, yeah, but
in the winter, that's a pass for me.
It's just it's not the beach, right? It's the coast.
It's the coast.
It's there's a difference.
That is a good. Yeah, you're not going in the water.
Right.
No one's out and taking a dip right now in the mid-December.
All right, where were we? This NCAA thing came out of nowhere today.
Yeah, we got a letter from the president.
Letter. I love that they still write letters. It's cute.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Charlie Baker.
Two-pager.
He's the new head cheese at the NCAA. You haven't heard much from him since they, I don't know, put him in office or swore him in or whatever the hell they do with this guy.
Got rid of Emmert.
He is the president, and he has called for a new tier of Division I, and in that tier...
Because that's what we need. We need more tiers.
In that tier, schools will be able to directly pay their athletes.
Yeah, so basically what they're saying is this is going to be an optional... you can say you're in or you're out.
Yeah. And
if you decide to be in, it will be a subset of an already subset, which is the FCS. And what will happen here is that you have to, as a school, put in at least minimum $30,000 in a trust fund to pay your athletes directly. Doesn't have to be 30. You can have it be 100. You can have it be 200, but at least 30. And by the way, this is going to get very expensive because you still have to comply with Title IX. So you're going to have to, if you're putting in for men, you're going to have to put in for women as well. And obviously football is such a big deal that this is going to spill over to most female student athletes. And then some other things, NIL you'll be allowed to basically have NIL within your own school now. So it's now you have to have boosters. Like Indiana, for instance, doesn't have NIL for crap, but they got $20 million to pay off their football coach. Now Indiana can just have their NIL be their own school and pay their players whatever you want. And it also basically frees what they're saying is this new subset will be what we're talking about is the breaking away with the big power schools, and they can do what they want. They can make their own rules. They can have as many coaches as they want. They can decide how many scholarships that they want, whether to make new limits or do away with all limits altogether. It will basically be the final piece of amateurism dying. The only thing that stops short of is revenue sharing.
Yeah, so I mean, I get the part where I think the best part of this is they're saying schools can just pay athletes directly.
Yes.
In other words, it's separate from academic resources, right? Is the way he put it.
Yes.
So they want that. That's good. So if you have the money and you've got the money raised from boosters or wherever you get it, you just put it in the bank and you pay your athletes however you see fit. Okay.
Yes.
So no longer does Dan Lanning have to dance around the NIL topic when we talk to him. Like right now, he's like, well, I can't talk about that. That's the collective.
Yes.
Separate of the school. Now it will be in-house in the school. So that's good.
And you can still have and the players can still go do their NIL with other entities.
Sure, of course.
But this now can come directly. So with the 30,000, what they are saying is for every athlete, now there will be a minimum that you are paid $30,000. And they say that is for educational things, but that's what it's designed for, but there's no stipulation on how that is spent. So the kid can spend that on whatever he wants, but every kid will make a minimum of $30,000, but obviously the big ones are going to be much higher than that.
So the thing that I don't really understand, it's very vague, is he was talking about how you can just make your own rules.
Yes.
And you were talking about number of coaches, transfer portal rules. Like what does that mean? What are they trying to get to there?
So when I was reading through this, and we've efforted a couple people, so hopefully this week we're going to get someone on. But I read through enough of these where to me the gist is simply the gap between, and this is what the president said, the gap between the haves and the have-nots continues to grow. And basically you're asking the have-nots to extend themselves too far, and you're asking the haves to have to peel it back to accommodate others. And so they're saying, at this point, everyone make your own decision. And this, by the way, doesn't have to be a conference thing. It can be a school-by-school thing that anyone that wants to opt in, okay, this is the bare minimum commitment that you have to make. And if you opt in, you guys get together, and under the framework of the NCAA, you create your own rules. Basically, what they're saying is create your own new league.
So that's where I was confused. They're saying whoever opts into this, those schools collectively make rules that are the same for everybody.
Yes.
In the press release that I read, it made it sound like each school could do their own thing.
I mean, technically, I guess this would allow that, but I think the larger idea is that you are going to separate.
Yeah.
And so you will now have like the FBS, you'll have the FCS, and now you're going to have this.
FGS.
And now you've got how many different divisions? Like, were you technically Division 2?
I'm a Division 2. There's D2, D3, D1 FCS, D1 FBS. You have NAI, which is its own thing.
Yeah, that's like Willamette and Linfield.
No,
right?
that's like Southern Oregon, stuff like that. Willamette, Linfield, that's D3. And then you've got JUCO, which California has their own, and then the rest of the country has their own.
So this would just be a separate subdivision of that, but it would still play under the banner of the NCAA. It would still play under the banner of the college football playoff. There would still be a loose affiliation, but
why wouldn't I opt in if I'm thinking of Oregon State.
I don't know if they have the money.
Yeah, but you got to opt in. You got to try, right? Like, why wouldn't you say, oh, dude, this is like, to me, this is a lifeline for Oregon State and Washington State. Now, not to say that they, like, in other words, I didn't read anything in there where they would get kicked out.
No,
it's choice.
It is choice.
So you may still not be able to keep up. Know, I mean, it's still going to be,
but it doesn't put you
imbalance.
It doesn't put you in a conference. It doesn't put you in a.
Yeah, but it gives you you're in the highest tier. That's what you want.
Yes,
right. It's no longer Power 5.
No, it is a matter of can you afford to do it, and this is where each school is going to have to take a long, hard look in the mirror and ask themselves, do we want to try to play the reindeer games with, like, if you're Oregon State or Washington? I was reading a bunch about this because I went to BYU, and now there is a big debate amongst BYU fans who just got into the Big 12. Can BYU afford to do this? And basically what they're asking is the church going to spend the money
exactly
for them to do this?
It's right. Like, okay, so I think there's a lot of schools that would say on the surface, we cannot afford to do this.
Yes.
Because you're talking about playing in a pool with, or swimming in a pool with
$250
Ohio State
budgets.
and Texas and Oregon and Oregon wouldn't even be one, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But that's not so on paper, there's going to be a lot of schools that would not qualify.
Yeah.
But that's not really the point. The point is, can you go get the money to make it work?
Yeah.
And it's, it used to just be about how much money you were bringing in, revenues, TV contracts, isn't that? Now it seems to be that they're opening this up to say, hey, it's all about commitment from your donors.
Yeah.
Right? It's like,
or your university.
And revenue and your revenue stream. Obviously that matters.
Yeah.
But I just mean there's another element that they're opening up here that is going to force schools like Oregon State or Washington State or just Kansas, any school that isn't elite in terms of budgets, they are going to have to get creative in raising money to keep up. And so to say that they can't do that, it's not true. They can. It's just a matter of how do you go about doing it? Are you effective at doing it? Like, it's, in other words, it's it's a little bit of a lifeline because it gives you an opportunity to sell something to raise that money.
But the problem, and this is where I'll push back a little bit, in that, I guess in theory it gives you a raft, but it's a raft with a bunch of holes in it,
but it's a raft.
It is a raft, but the problem is if you choose to go into the deep waters, this is the raft you've been given. And it's a race. And everyone else isn't in a raft. Everyone else is in a yacht. And so do you really want to be the one in a dinghy or in a little life raft with a hole in it and fighting and clawing to even come up with the bare minimum to reach this? Like, let's say most people are saying that if you did this for your football, your basketball, and then the equivalent females to make up for Title IX, just in this alone, you're looking at anywhere from $6 to $8 million. And for the Ohio States of the world, it won't be $30,000.
But what if they put a cap? Like, okay, so everybody who opts in, they sit down and they talk, say, how are we going to structure this? Okay. Yeah. What if they put a cap on how much you can spend on recruiting?
See, they can't do that because this is where the antitrust stuff comes in. That's why I said there is multiple lawsuits going through the federal system right now challenging the amateurism model because they want revenue sharing and they want to unionize. And the reason why this whole thing is coming about right now, make no mistake about it, is this prevents revenue sharing. The NCAA is throwing up the flare gun and saying, okay, we get it, guys. At this point, spend whatever the hell you want to spend. Ohio State, Texas, everybody, this is what you're doing. But please, let's stop with the revenue sharing. And if you come out and you try to say, all right, we're going to put a salary cap on this, we're going to put a budget on this, then you're just opening yourself back up to a whole new line. So the whole reason that this exists is for Ohio State and Texas and Alabama and anyone else to spend whatever the hell they want to spend and have as many coaches as they want to spend and possibly even have as many scholarships as you want. So, look, I'm not saying that you couldn't, if you're Oregon State or Washington State or BYU, decide to go into this, but realize that you are dumping a lot of money into something where the gap has always been significant, and you've always tried to jump that gap, and you've never done it successfully, by the way. And the gap just got that much greater because there isn't going to be anything holding back Ohio State and Alabama and Oregon and Washington from really, really putting their foot on the gas at this point.
I think this is where it's smart for OSU and WSU to look at North Dakota State, North Dakota, Montana State, because those are schools that have had the option and they've had success to jump up to an FBS level, but they've stayed at the FCS because they get to be the big fish in the small pond. I don't think that that's a bad thing for Oregon State or Washington State if they do create this third tier. Go be the big bad team. Go win national titles because guess what? If you go to a Montana kid or you go to a North Dakota State kid and go, well, your national title doesn't count, they're going to tell you to pound sand and pound rocks. There are people who will look at Mountain West teams that are getting recruited and go, well, why would I go play for Fresno State or Wyoming or Nevada when I can go to North Dakota State or I can go to Montana and I'll play in front of 30,000 people and my games will be sold out and I'll be playing for a playoff berth and a national title every single year. Oh, by the way, all those games are on TV now. So I think sometimes you have to look at it for Oregon State and Washington State and say, this is our lot in life. Let's go be the big bad bully instead of being the little guy.
They're not good.
That's a tough pill to swallow,
especially being where they've been at. But I know for me personally, like I said, for the BYU thing, with the limitations we have already, because, well, we're BYU and we put our own rules on that we're not going to get great athletes like other schools do. I would rather, as a BYU fan, I would rather us be one of the top 10 schools in and by the way, there's going to be good schools in this. This is going to be really good football. I think I would rather do that and then still have a chance to go up and play 2 or 3 games against the big boys. You know, go schedule a game against an Ohio State or an Oregon or someone, UW, and take our chances at it. I'd rather do that than try to play in this world where realistically we can't. We don't have the money unless the church, which is worth like $8 gajillion, just says, you know what, F it. Sure, what do you need? $200 million? Cool. But that's really what you're facing is some of these schools are going to have to find a way to raise $100 million a year to play at this level. And that is just, at a time when like Arizona right now and Washington State and some of these other places are literally facing financial ruin as a university, not as an athletic program. Yeah. I don't know where that money comes from.
I don't either. But what I'm saying is the old model killed you off.
Yeah.
It killed you off.
Yeah.
At least here you have a chance to try to keep up.
If you have the money, you can keep up.
And that's what I'm saying. Like that's when, remember when we've talked about this, we always use this as the example. Remember when Cal came around and said, you know what, we cannot afford all these sports.
Yeah.
If you want to save your particular sport, step up.
And they did.
Raise the money. Well, some of them died, but some of them stepped up big time.
Yeah, they raised like $10 million.
The result of that was that they looked around and went, wait a minute, there's a lot of money out there that loves Cal baseball enough that when it was on the chopping block, they stepped up and kept it.
Yeah.
Well, now that's happening with football. And I tell you what, there's going to be a lot of people that would be willing to step up. Now, I'm not saying they can keep up. I'm not saying it would work or they have enough money, and you're right, $100 million. I mean, that's so much money. But the old model, you were dead. Yeah. Dead. You rip. Done. No chance. You no longer get buoyed by the bigger schools' TV eyeballs, basically, right? You don't have that. They killed that option off for you. I'm talking about Oregon State, Washington State. Yeah. Well, at least now you have a chance to try. Yeah. And that is why, to me, it's a lifeline. And I don't know how to go.
And anyone that thinks that this isn't happening, it's happening. This is, I'm telling you, look at some of the federal cases that are going on right now. The death of the NCAA is coming if they don't do something, and this is their Hail Mary to prevent unionization and revenue sharing. And
so this is happening. Well, there's a text. We'll get to this text next. They said, what value or purpose is there to the NCAA at all? Well, it's a good question, and we'll start there when we get back. It's 421 on the Fan. in the letter from Charlie Baker, the new president of the NCAA. And someone asked, what value or purpose is there to the NCAA at all?
Okay, two things. The main one is it's important to remember that when we think about the NCAA, we often think about college football. One, the college football playoff is the only championship that's not even governed by the NCAA. That's under the college football playoff. But there's 32 leagues and like 315 teams in Division I. I mean, you're only talking about 5%.
It's Division I football
that fall into this category that we're talking about is that would possibly want to break away. And it's actually less than that because not every Power 5 school is going to do this. I'm guessing some of them are not going to have the financial wherewithal to keep up with this. I mean, I mentioned Washington State's athletic department being in trouble, but Arizona is in financial ruin as a university. Like, go look at some of the problems Arizona's having. And now, again, you're going to ask Arizona to possibly come up with an extra $50, $60, $70 million. So you're already talking about a small number of schools. So for the rest of the Division I model, you need the NCAA to run all those playoffs. I mean, Will played at a lesser division, and
playoffs.
Will got to go and play in playoffs and have a national title and all of those divisions.
They pay for all of that, by the way. They pay for all your flights, your travels, hotels, all of it.
So without the NCAA, every one of those championships, from conference to NCAA, that all stuff goes away. So you have to have that. And then the other one, and this is really the main one why the NCAA exists, is amateurism. And I know that sounds crazy, but through all of this that we're talking about here, the main one here, and this is what the NCAA, like 60 years ago, why they coined the term student athlete, I think it was like back in the 60s, is to have amateurism. Because if you don't have the NCAA, and you say this no longer has an academic affiliation, then all you are is employees. And that would be so catastrophic because athletic departments would shut down overnight. Because once you are deemed an employee, now you have collective bargaining. Now you have revenue sharing. Now you have workers' comp. Now you have all of those things. And
aren't they tax exempt too? And that would go away?
Yeah, and it's all gone. Then you just basically become professional sports. So like when you hear about a school like Ohio State, like we keep bringing them because I think they have the biggest budget. It's like $250 million. Realize that if you got rid of the NCAA, your budget just got slashed in half because 50% of that has to go to the players. And you can't, under this model, no one. This is what they're trying to prevent more than anything, is the amateurism model going away, because that would create, I don't even know what that looks like. I mean, it just creates the NFL, basically.
The NCAA is just trying to hang on.
Yes.
I mean, they want to control this. And what they want to do is they want to avoid another entity, a.k.a. Congress, or a school mutiny, from controlling it. So the NCAA is dying, and we all know that. To their credit, I think what they're saying here, they've got this new president, and I think what he's saying is, we recognize that. Yeah. We recognize that we're about to get cut out of this deal if we keep pounding this student-athlete drum. Yeah. So here, let's do this. Yeah. And if you guys all agree with that, if you do it under our umbrella, we don't die. Yeah. If Congress acts on this, we die. Yeah. So they're just trying to get out ahead of this.
And the smaller schools, the Tulanes and the BYUs and the Central Washingtons and the Eastern Washingtons and the Youngstown States, they want this because it keeps them alive, because it keeps the amateur model. And the Ohio States of the world want this because it's like, cool, we still don't have to dip into our pockets to pay our players necessarily. We can still make this a budget-friendly sort of thing and still make a bunch of money. Realize that this year, for the first time ever, coaches' salaries are equal to scholarships given out. Across Division I, coaches, their salaries actually make up the same percentage of money as scholarships. And and
it was always less?
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, coaches' salaries are insane. Now, when you look at the cost
of the scholarships were always less.
Yeah, the scholarships were always less.
Yeah. They always cost more to have the coach.
Yeah. So, like, when you look at this now, it's like, it's this, everyone benefits from creating a model outside of the players. The players would benefit the most if it just went to a professional model, because then it's a free market system and a small percentage of them. But every university, every coach, every administration is desperate to keep this alive in some form. And by doing this separation, what they're hoping is the small schools will say, cool, we opt out. business as usual. We've got some cost control. This is the rules by which we have to play by. And the big boys will be like, okay, now we're freed up. We can spend our money, but we also don't have to go into the role of actually being employees and dealing with everything that comes along with. So they're just trying to create a system that works for both sides without having it be the death of amateur athletics.
So you think the big schools are going to go for this?
Yes.
Or do you think they're huddled up right now talking about their own little plan?
No, they're going to go with this. Because I think that they're absolutely terrified of the lawsuits and Congress getting involved. So I think that...
So the NCAA is going to find a way to weasel their way into this.
Well, we'll see, because if those lawsuits still find their way through, all of this could be moot and someone could challenge this, and then
that's true.
Because all it takes is one or two schools to set some precedents by unionizing, and then all hell breaks loose.
Okay, well, let's move on to In the News, guys. You guys want In the News?
Let's news it.
I've got flood news, and yesterday we talked about Dan Ryan and I having something in common where neither of us have been in Sook's kitchen.
No.
And neither of us are running for mayor.
I mean, you're basically the same person.
But there is a guy who is running for mayor. Mingus Maps has a challenger.
Oh. I like me some maps.
I'll tell you who that is coming up next on In the News. Here is Will with SportsCenter. is back on. Knicks, Bucks.
I know they're saying that this is getting some good numbers for the NBA, and like I guess it's like players are taking it seriously.
They have financial incentives, right?
$500,000. I just couldn't.
What? $500,000?
$500,000 for
every player that wins?
Yeah,
the tournament.
Yeah. Like Lillard said that he was interested in that for some of like the younger players. Obviously, it's not as much of a thing for him, but
that's a big deal.
I just cannot give two flying, what?
Hey, look at this intensity, though. I mean, this game is wild.
Whatever.
8-4 is the score. It's December.
Is there something else on?
December 5th, 2023. Time now for In the News. I'm your noted newsman. In the News is on. That's what's on.
Oh, can't wait.
Red Wings with Sabres.
On my way right now.
Today is the day of the ninja.
Oh. When I was a kid, ninjas were a very big deal.
Yeah,
I would have thought they would have played a bigger role in my day-to-day adult life.
Ninjas have kind of lost their luster.
Yeah. But back in the day, man, ninjas, like mid-'80s, who didn't have ninja stars?
I was a ninja for Halloween one year.
Did you have some nunchucks, did you?
I had a Chinese star.
Yeah. The throwing star was a big deal. Again, I assumed that when we were adults that we'd all have throwing stars, and now everyone just has guns, which kind of negates the whole throwing star thing.
You know what I use
for throwing stars?
You know what I used for my throwing star?
What?
My sheriff's badge.
You didn't buy them at the Vancouver Mall?
No.
Was that Excalibur, that store at the mall?
You can buy them for like $4.
Yeah.
We didn't have something that cool.
No, not in Salina. Yeah, there was always that one weird knife store at the mall that sold.
You guys were lucky. Like real ones?
Yeah,
yeah. We had real throwing stars that we would throw into trees.
But you'd have to they would be labeled as like paperweights or something because they couldn't say that they were like throwing stars. So it's like when you buy a bong and it's called like a water pipe.
Anything a paperweight?
Pretty much, which is how you get around it. And it would sell like brass knuckles and just dumb crap like that. And when you were a kid,
cool swords.
You're like, this is awesome.
It is also National Blue Jean Day.
Oh, I'm wearing jeans today for the first time in like a month. I don't wear jeans that much anymore.
Hey, are these blue jeans?
Yeah, that's denim.
Okay, they're gray.
Yeah, but it's still blue jeans.
So they're gray jeans.
Yeah, gray jeans. Jeans have come a long way, but there's just better pants out there.
Man, Jason, this coast flooding is bananas.
Yeah, the rain just keeps coming.
It can't stop. It won't stop. Highway 101 closed from Seaside down to the junction with 26. My neighbor has a place along Highway 101 there.
Is he stuck there or?
No, he's here, but it's a second home. But boy, he sent me a picture of the driveway this morning.
Yeah.
Dude, it's like a swimming pool.
Yeah. Well, and the it's always dicey when you're going down to the coast because it's, that road, it's one lane each direction. If something happens, you're cooked. There ain't no way around.
6 is closed near the junction with 101 in Tillamook, and they say flood watch remains in effect until 4 p.m. tomorrow.
Well, and then we had someone drowned in Johnson Creek here locally.
Yeah, I saw that. Did they find that? Did they find the body?
I think they assume one person is gone. They saw him get swept away, and then they found the other body in Washington County Creek. So like they're saying 2, and it sounds like they won't come out and say it, but it sounds like homeless because like at the end of the article they're like, if you're experiencing homelessness, stay away from the rising.
Wasn't one of them floating down Johnson Creek on a couch cushion?
That I don't know.
That's what they said.
You shouldn't laugh at that.
I'm laughing at that.
Was he doing it on purpose, or
I don't know.
He thought he was going for like a ride, or
I don't know, man.
Oh,
they died.
I guess that's what they say, like in the planes, right? Use your seat as a flotation device. I don't know if that works on a regular couch cushion, but
it's wild out there.
Yeah, and this goes for homeless or the homed. Be careful around the waterways. The water levels are rising, and they're really, really fast.
People don't have enough respect for floodwater.
Yeah, it's spooky. I mean, there is strong currents there.
Yeah.
And even if it's pretty shallow, if it starts sweeping you away and you get trapped under something or you hit your head,
that's what happens.
And by the way, don't the seat cushion thing. Not a good idea. Don't do that.
Renee Gonzalez will soon announce a run for Portland mayor.
Oh, we got a Gonzalez versus Maps little showdown here, huh?
Yeah, Mingus Maps has already said he's going to run. Renee, now he's a lawyer by trade, but he's the guy who beat Joanne Hardesty last year.
Yes.
He's the.
So I know that devastated me because you know how much I think of her.
Because you were hot on her.
I was a big fan. She was just such a neat lady with so many great ideas.
So this guy's a first-time politician, but he's been on the city council for a year now. He's saying, hey, I want to be mayor. Now, they're also saying that Carmen Rubio, also on the city council, she will be...
so basically anyone on the city council?
Running. Well, Dan Ryan's not.
Oh, that's true.
So Gonzalez, if you must know, he is the most conservative on the board. He is for beefing up police and stiffening enforcement on no camping laws.
And I will say that to me, he has a... He's got a very strong-jawed look about him. Like, I can see him in some ads wearing some tough skins talking about how he's going to be tough on crime. He has a very stern look about him. You said he was an attorney, right?
He's a lawyer, yeah.
Is he rich, too?
I don't know.
Is he one of those guys?
I bet he's got some dough.
Aren't all lawyers rich?
No.
No. Not at all.
Far from it. I do appreciate the fact that he is running on the whole, I don't know, do something about the homeless and the crime. I like that.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what, how these guys stand out from these people stand out from one another, but could be an interesting mayoral race.
Sure, because I've heard some of Mingus Map stuff, and again, he seems like a fairly rational,
smart dude.
Yeah. Looks like Aaron Fentress throws me off, but
he needs to get glasses that don't fall down his nose.
Yeah.
I watched an interview with him.
You don't like that one, do you?
And he just kept constantly pushing up his glasses. I'm like, Ming, babe. Maybe some LASIK.
Isn't it funny? Because they say this all the time. Like, little things like that can make such a huge difference in the way people vote. Like, you'll make a snap judgment on someone. Like, you'll come time to vote, and you're like, I don't know. I didn't like. There's something about that guy that bugged me.
Well, I'm not judging him about it, but he did not seem to be... I'll just shut up.
That's how Nixon lost.
Yeah. And then Nixon on TV next to Kennedy, it just, no one could vote for him because Nixon just looked sweaty and kind of disheveled and said he didn't look trustworthy, whereas Kennedy had that...
Nixon wasn't trustworthy, you don't say.
He had that charm about him. I don't think Kennedy was either, but he looked good.
Fair.
That's why that Gavin Newsom, that guy's a slick-looking dude.
I'll tell you what, you are so right about that. That dude's going to win. If he ever runs for president, he's going to win.
He just looks like it.
And that's it. That's exactly it. I hate to say it, but that's really it. He just is presentable. He has the presidential look, and that's really all that matters to people.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, yeah, I trust that guy. You know nothing about him.
No, there's just something. But that is the vast...
But look at him.
The vast majority of people vote not based on any sort of policy or whatever. They either vote down a ticket line or they pick one thing out about a guy, and they're like, he said he was for this.
If it's a handsome off, Rene Gonzalez greater than Mingus Maps. So Maps is going to have to bring his A game.
Yeah, that is true. And Maps, hopefully, again, with some new glasses. You know, the thicker glasses are in now. You might want to, move to a more substantial set.
Yeah, it's just like, just tighten it up a little bit, Ming. Okay. Did you see this dog mauling story?
No,
this?
I did not.
Yeah, we have a dead kid.
Gosh.
I know. But the story is, just how it happened is maddening, and we will get to that next on The Fan.
The Fan is on in your home and where you work.
It's just us and no one else.
Good explanation.
The Fan on your smart speaker is brought to you by Red Tail Golf Center's holiday sale, going on now with up to 50% off all your holiday golfing needs. Red Tail Golf Center, where they guarantee the lowest holiday prices. Visit redtailgolf.com and tell your smart speaker to play 1080.
I couldn't believe how entertained I was. When you talk about the top in this country, right up there with anybody else.
The Fan.
Nick Suk here for the Big Ford store, Vancouver Ford, locally owned and #1 in customer service for the 6th straight year. Their certified staff is ready to get you the ride you're looking for. Vancouver Ford isn't just my hometown dealer, it's the dealer I send my family, my friends, my listeners to, because I know that they're going to be well taken care of and you won't find a better deal, period.
wanted to bring it to your attention because these stories, they're so maddening how they go down. But a 6-year-old boy has died after his caretaker's dog mauled him and her. She lived.
Okay. But the 6-year-old obviously did not.
That is what died means, yes. He's no longer with us. Okay, so here's what happened. Officers show up Northeast 113th Avenue in Schuyler. They show up at 7:40 this morning, and there's a woman at the front door covered in blood. This is the homeowner. So the boy's grandmother drops him off at this woman's house, and she is to take him to school. So that's the deal. I don't know. I don't know what happens with grandma, but maybe she goes and hits the slots.
Who knows?
You know, gotta go. Yeah. You gotta take little Johnny to school. So the woman who owns the home, she has 2 dogs. They are large Great Dane Mastiff mixes.
Those are, just
That's huge.
Great Danes and Mastiffs might be the 2 largest breeds that we have, that are regular dogs in this country. Those are enormous.
So they are she keeps them separated. They are in a garage that is attached to the house.
Okay.
She goes into the garage this morning. The boy was inside the house. The boy follows her, opens the door to the garage, and one of the dogs attacks him. Like instantly attacks him.
Obviously, these dogs are not safe to be around people. You can't convince me that she didn't know.
That's why they're in the garage.
Yeah.
And this is why I don't understand people who have these dogs that at any turn someone could die. Why? What is the point of that?
I don't know. I don't mean like this hits home for me. If you've listened to my show, I have been attacked multiple times by a family member's animal, to the point where I don't speak to my family anymore because of this. And I get so tired of the effing excuses. And it's always the same thing. Well, he's great. I don't know. It's a shock.
But this woman knows they're not.
Exactly.
Great. And because they said the second dog was involved in the attack too.
Well, this is my thing. I think it's all lie. I'm convinced that they do know. They just choose to continue to harbor very unsafe and aggressive. It's stunning to me that you keep 2 dogs locked in a garage, and you can't tell me that she didn't damn well know that when normal adjusted dogs that are around a kid don't just randomly decide to maul a kid to death for no reason. Doesn't happen.
Well,
it's ridiculous.
They say they don't know whether she is going to face charges. She did try to pull the dogs off of the boy.
I can't.
She did grab a gun. She did not fire the gun. She was injured trying to stop the attack. She was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. As of about 10:45 this morning, the 2 dogs were still in the garage, but Multnomah County Animal Services is expected to take custody of them. And Grandma is probably going to be suing the S out of her. That's how I feel.
It's so sad because I just can't imagine how scary that is for a 6-year-old when those 2 dogs are probably 3 times his size. I can't. It makes me sick to my stomach. And stop getting violent, aggressive dogs. Stop being that guy. It doesn't make you cool.
Or girl.
It doesn't make you a badass to have a dog that's unhinged. Stop it. It baffles me that we continue to, and it happens all the time.
Very sad story.
Yeah, it's pathetic.
Could have been avoided.
Yes.
December 5th in the news, 2023. Hot 5 at 5 is coming up next. What's gotten into the NCAA? We've got winter meeting update and a lot of transfer portal news. Oh, and Pac-12 awards handed out. 4:57 on the Fan.
Hey, it's Isaac Ropp. I ditched
So buckle up. Stay away from the rivers. They're flooding.
It's your Sports Bros. Rob and Suk. I'm Rob.
It is kind of fun to drive through the puddles, though. I'm not going to lie.
Big Suk right over there.
I get a little enjoyment out of that.
Yeah, when you see a big... Okay, so not on the freeway because that can get a little wild.
Yeah, it's a little dicey.
But if you're just driving on a side street and you see a really big one, do you go all up in there?
100%. Well,
or do you swerve just to catch a little bit of it?
If I'm in my little electric car, then no. But if I'm in the Bronco, I absolutely veer into that sucker and let's go as big as we can get.
Have you ever splashed someone?
No, that's such a D move. If you do that, like we were talking about the shopping cart being like the shopping cart return to determine you're a good person or not. The splash thing, if you think that's funny to just douse someone with a puddle like that,
it's a pretty good indicator that you're an ass.
You are a giant ass.
All right, well, coming up, we've got the Pac-12 awards, NFL absurdities. I have I teased this yesterday. We never got to it. Just a little thing, but does it make me a bad person?
Oh, yeah, it does.
There was something in sports that I laughed at.
So
we'll get to that.
That's dicey. I have that all the time when I laugh at something and I have to think about it. I'm like, oh, God, should I have been laughing about that?
Hey, will we get to hot in-season tournament talk?
No.
Oh, okay.
We will not. I can tell you that New Orleans moved on and everyone's all hot and bothered about that in Indiana, and that's about the extent of my in-game, what have you, interest.
We're going to talk about wife swapping in the club.
All right.
Will brought this to our attention.
Yeah. You've never played that game, like when you're sitting around with a group of friends and you're like,
no.
If you had to, where do you go?
No. No.
We've done that before with it.
No.
I know your friends.
We've done that with a group.
Gonna have to have a conversation with your friends.
Yeah, no. Good Morning America style wife swap here.
Yeah. Well, we had the famous one. Remember the baseball players? I think it was for the Yankees, the Indians.
Oh yeah.
And they swapped wives and kids. It's the greatest trade in baseball history.
So that'll be in the club right now. The hot 5 at 5.
Oh. Hot topics, hot opinions.
Oh, golly, I'm hot today.
And hot air. It's time for the Hot 5 at 5.
That's hot.
The Hot 5 at 5 on Primetime with Isaac and Sue.
No, I mean it. That's very hot.
The Hot 5 at 5 with Isaac and Sue. Brought to you on The Fan by Victorico's Mexican Food, the most popular burrito spot in Oregon. Online at victoricos.com. Number 5.
Well, what's gotten into the NCAA? We talked about this earlier in our program, but the new president, Charlie Baker, has sent a letter to all the schools proposing rules changes that would allow Division I schools to pay their athletes in ways not tied to educational resources.
Yeah, basically what they're saying is that anyone in the Division I pool can opt into this. There'll be a minimum of, for each athlete, $30,000 minimum. You can pay as much as you want. That would go into a trust to pay each one of your athletes, including the females, for Title IX. And that basically whoever opts in will then be able to kind of break away and come up with their own set of new cool rules. And NIL would no longer have to be collectives. The school themselves could enter into NIL deals with their players. And basically this appears to be their last-ditch effort to keep the amateur model alive and running in the NCAA.
So they'd be amateurs,
but paid. Yes, but you wouldn't.
Genius.
But you wouldn't have to deal with unions. You wouldn't have to deal with collective bargaining. You wouldn't have to deal with workers' comp or anything like that, which is what they don't want, because then the whole thing crumbles.
You know, I'd love to give you a winter meetings update with some tangible news. But today, I will disappoint you. I cannot do that.
Damn it.
But what I can give you is juicy, intangible news.
Okay.
Well, it's not really news. Intangible rumor.
Like Ohtani watch or something?
Yeah. So apparently the Blue Jays are a very serious suitor for Shohei Ohtani.
I like that if you go to MLB.com, on the top of their page, they just have a thing called Ohtani Watch.
Yeah. And I don't know, the thing about his deal, though, is that he has warned all the clubs that are involved not to leak anything. So I don't believe any report. Like, if you really want Shohei, you better not say a thing to anybody. And so I don't really believe a lot of this stuff about Shohei. We don't really know. No one knows what's going on with Shohei.
No. Other than he's going to end up someplace that has a bunch of money, because he's going to be very, very expensive. And he has said that he wants to win.
Did you see who the Mariners are considering? Free agent outfielder?
No. Well, I mean, the Juan Soto thing's been out there for a long time.
Cody Bellinger.
Ah.
Left-handed bat who can also play first base.
And Cody Bellinger actually had a bit of a resurgence.
That he did, Barry.
Belly.
Boy, you could do
That'd be a good signing.
You could do a lot worse than going to get yourself Cody Bellinger.
It's a sprained ankle for Jags quarterback Trevor Lawrence. Additional testing coming today.
Boy, it looked a lot worse than that.
Which will give us an idea of how long he'll be out. The Jets have cut bait on Tim Boyle. They have signed Brett Rippon away from the Seahawks practice squad.
I can't figure out how Tim Boyle made it to the NFL. Like, look at his college numbers.
Well,
they're worse than his NFL numbers.
And now you know why they didn't bench Zach Wilson forever.
Yeah, they want to go back to Zach Wilson, and Zach Wilson doesn't want to play.
Yeah, so now we have no idea who their quarterback is. They don't even know who their quarterback is.
It doesn't matter at this point.
Tyrod Taylor is back for the Giants, but dude, come on. Tommy DeVito! Hey! He's going to remain the starter.
Yeah, he said that he was.
Because he's one of them.
He said he was disappointed to lose out to Tommy DeVito. Did you also see earlier that DeVito had like 3 times the free agent contract offered to him by Washington, and he turned it down because he wanted to stay at home?
Yeah, live with his mommy.
Holy Tommy.
Did Ryan Clark of ESPN break the news that Washington State transfer quarterback Cam Ward is on his way to Ohio State?
Yeah, I guess on Twitter, someone had asked the question, why did McCord leave Ohio State? And Clark replied, because the Washington State quarterback transferred there, and then quickly deleted it.
Yeah, so we could have Cam Ward going to Ohio State. We don't know. Dylan Gabriel of Oklahoma is going to visit Oregon this weekend. Also, USC and Mississippi State thought to be in the mix for him. Tyler Shuck is visiting with Louisville today. You remember Tyler Shuck?
Yes.
We also had 3 suitors emerging for DJ Uiagalelei, Florida State, Louisville, and Mississippi State.
Possibly back to the ACC. Weird now you're getting all these guys are going to play at 3 schools.
And Riley Leonard is visiting Notre Dame.
Although some of his stock appears to be kind of going south. And I can't really quite figure out why. Not viewed as the top guy in the portal anymore.
Bo Nix wins Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Year.
Mm-hmm. And Washington fan is outraged. Brock Ewart
it's not outrageous.
Brock Ewart had a tweet about it today, too. Said that, like, the final bout of incompetence for the Pac-12 to give it to Michael Penix.
God. Just because they won the league does not mean Michael Penix should win Offensive Player of the Year over Bo Nix.
Bo Nix had a better year than Michael Penix. And Michael Penix was amazing. By the way, Michael Penix ended up being the 2nd team All-Pac-12 quarterbacks. They released all the awards today.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. There's a lot to go through there.
Yeah, Penix was the number 2 behind Nix.
Kalen DeBoer is Coach of the Year for the 2nd year in a row. Ducks lose DB Triquez Bridges. He hits the portal. 3rd team All-Pac-12 a year ago. Oregon State loses promising freshman corner Jamad McCoy. He's entered the portal as well.
Look, that sucks because McCoy was their best. I mean, outside of Aiden Childs, McCoy played a lot of good football at the end of the year. That one stings to have a freshman like that walk away.
Now, the Ducks have 6 guys in the portal. The Beavers only 3.
Yeah.
How about that?
Well, Bridges left today, and you know, he was a nice backup corner. In fact, he made an unbelievable play in the first WSU game, or Washington game, when he made the tackle there at the goal line when they stopped him on the 4th down. But he was a guy, again, that had probably fallen out of favor and wasn't a starter. So it's a depth thing, but no one so far that has left Oregon has been a guy that really figured prominently into their plans.
And finally, we have the Iowa defensive coordinator, a guy by the name of Phil Parker, winning the Broyles Award given to the nation's top assistant.
Damn right.
His scoring defense ranked 4th nationally. They were just one of 2 units to give up less than 4 yards per play, the other being Penn State.
And having done that with no offense whatsoever.
And they only gave up 18 plays of longer than 20 yards.
Just imagine if they had even a halfway decent offense.
Maybe Phil can coach offense.
Yeah, it's possible. Or just go find an offensive coordinator. Is it that hard to do?
Apparently it is. Victor Rico's Mexican food, the most popular burrito spot in Oregon. Order now at victorricos.com. We'll get to the Pac-12 awards handed out today and other college football musings next on The Fan.
Oregon Ducks football
12-team playoff this year based on the final playoff rankings. Man, it would be so cool. God, Oregon would play Missouri.
Oh, that's actually, believe it or not, that actually ended up being a really good game. Missouri's quality team this year, finally.
Yeah, that would be a good game.
Yeah.
That'd be number 8 versus number 9. You'd have Ohio State, Penn State, 7-10.
I don't need to see that again, but all right.
You'd have Georgia, Ole Miss, and then you'd have Florida State, Liberty.
Oh, yeah, Liberty would get in as the best Power 5.
And then, of course, Michigan, Washington, Texas, Alabama get buys.
Yeah. And by the way, Oregon would have a home game because those first round games would be played at the higher seed, I guess the better seed stadium.
Dare to dream.
Dare to dream. You don't have to dream that long because it's next year.
Forgot about that.
It is nice that it kind of sucks that the last year is the one where we really had to give someone a Scroogey for the very first time, whereas any other year, going forward, we won't have this problem. And we'll still debate, obviously who's 12, 13, 14, but at that point you're debating 2 and 3 lost teams, and who gives a rip?
Well, if you're Florida State, you still get in.
Yeah, exactly.
And you get to play Liberty.
Well, and like I said,
that's kind of a buy.
There'll be a 10-win team that gets left out, but again, once you lose 2 games, there's really not a lot of sympathy for you anymore. Especially, and some of those might even be 3 lost teams you're having that debate. So it's just, it'll be like the last 4 into the NCAA tournament. You may feel bad for them, but no one's really going to care that much.
Pac-12 awards handed out today, as we mentioned. Bo Nix, Offensive Player of the Year. He is the 4th Oregon player to claim this honor. Mariota? Mariota? Remember how much trouble we had pronouncing his name at first?
Well, and then everyone kept pronouncing it differently. For the first 3 weeks, every announcer said it differently.
Well, we know him now as Mariota.
Yes.
He won it. Dennis Dixon won it, and our friend Joey Harrington won it.
Mm-hmm.
It was only 4.
And Bo was on the cusp of truly a special season because had they won that game, probably would have won the Heisman too.
Yeah, and all the Husky fans want Penix to have won it, but
look, this is a really tough conference. I mean, last year, as good as Bo was, and he was phenomenal, Bo didn't make first or second team all conference last year.
It was Penix was 1, right?
Caleb Williams was 1 because he won the Heisman, and then Penix was 2. And so Bo didn't even, he was honorable mention. And I'd say it this year too, like especially receivers and O-linemen, a tough squad to make. There's a lot of really good Pac-12 players.
I'll tell you what, that Penix-Nix thing is it's a good debate.
Yes.
I think for Offensive Player of the Year, come on, Nix had a better year.
Yes. But Penix won head-to-head.
Penix beat him head-to-head twice. And, Penix, I think Penix is better than Nix. That's just my opinion. But that does not mean Penix should win Offensive Player of the Year just because Washington beat them. I just think Nix was just absolutely sensational all year.
Yes.
Whereas Penix had some valleys that were,
Yeah, he went through a stretch where it was not great, and Bo never really played a bad game. Didn't happen. So,
but peak Penix, peak Nix, they're both excellent. Yeah. What a great debate. I would probably take Penix.
Well, and now we'll see what happens because they're both going to go high in the draft, but Nix actually has flipped the script, and that Nix is going to go, seemingly, according to most experts, he'll go significantly higher than Penix.
Latu, the UCLA kid,
yes,
defensive lineman, he wins Defensive Player of the Year.
And I don't know if you watched UCLA play, and you probably didn't because they weren't very good. But
I didn't watch him much. But
defensively, they were really good, and he's an
awesome.
absolute beast.
He stood out when you watch them.
Latu, what is it? Latu?
Yeah.
The Polynesian names are always. They can be a bit tricky, but old Latu there coming off the edge, he was a hell of a player for UCLA.
Offensive Freshman Player of the Year is Noah Fafita of Arizona. Now, that's a juicy little bowl game. You see they're playing Oklahoma.
Yeah, and he really, remember like when he got in because of injury, there was this idea of like, there was this speculation he may never give the job back. And he didn't.
He went 6-2 as their starter.
And he really made it. You imagine.
They won their last 6.
Yeah. Had he been, and it's tough because maybe he wasn't ready to play at the start of the year, but he gave them a different element when he came into that game. He's a tiny little guy too. He's got like Kyler Murray size to him.
Everybody talks about Bo Nix completion percentage. This kid was 4th in FBS.
Yeah.
73.6.
Yeah. Now, if you're Arizona, can you hold on to him? Haven't heard anything in the transfer portal about him, though.
Defensive Freshman Player of the Year is Cade Ululave?
Yeah, you go.
Did I get it right?
Yeah.
He plays for Cal.
Yeah.
So no one saw him play.
Cal's defense was
I thought it was
that was the thing, is that it was supposed to be like really good, and then it was for the first little bit, and then it kind of flipped, and their offense was carrying him, and then the defense was kind of crappy. He didn't start until like the final 5 or 6 games. So he was one that I think there are a lot of people today that read that and went, who?
Yeah, I never watched Cal.
Yeah, you didn't really need to.
I saw him against Oregon State. That was about it. Coach of the year, Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah, tough to argue.
God, what a joke that is.
13-0.
Dude, that guy's so awesome.
24-2 in his 2 years at Washington.
You remember
pay the man.
Bartu calling that one?
Yeah.
When they hired him, they were like, he was like, dude, that's a great hire.
Yeah. And he has been fantastic.
And you know who he's saying that about now?
Huh.
The coach that was just hired that Bartu's
that loves
raving about. That Dave loves. Willie Fritz.
Oh, yeah.
Who just went to
coach.
Houston. He's been saying, I remember him saying on our show a couple of years ago, hey, dude, watch out for that Willie Fritz guy. He's really good. And that's exactly what he was saying about Kalen DeBoer when Kalen DeBoer went to Washington. Now he's saying about Willie Fritz, who's going to Houston, which is an interesting program because it's in a big city and it is now in Power 5.
Yeah. It's fun to keep an eye on that. But again, is a Houston a place that can, if Willie Fritz goes there and has a nice run here over the next year or two, is that a place that can keep him? Because Washington can pay to keep DeBoer. It'll be interesting to see what happens there at Houston in old Willie Fritz.
So first team offense, Bo Nix, Damian Martinez made it.
Yeah.
Roma Dunze, Troy Franklin, Terrence Ferguson.
I'm telling you, just that lineup alone.
Jackson Powers Johnson on the O line. You had 2 Beeves on the O line. Fuaga. Bless you.
Excuse me, I have the big sneezies there.
And Levingood.
Yeah,
that was a choice sneeze there.
You could have held that off.
I could have.
Professional broadcaster.
Sorry.
You are not.
Sorry about that. It was coming on. It was coming on strong.
So yeah, that's first team. No hot comments there. Second team, Penix, Bucky Irving.
I'm trying to fight off another sneeze.
Dylan Johnson.
Choose not to. Coach Lanning would tell you to choose not to.
I am glad that Dylan. God, it's gonna happen here. I am glad.
We'll do it with you.
I am glad that Dylan Johnson got on the second team there. Their running game at the start of the year was not very good, and they didn't really have another back. Their starter got hurt at the beginning of the year in camp, and it kind of got thrust upon Dylan Johnson. He played through a bunch of injuries, and he just got better, and that run game got better, and they don't win the Pac-12 without Dylan Johnson playing on one foot. And that, again, a lot of really, really good backs around this league. And I love Bucky Irving. I think Bucky Irving is going to be a big-time NFL back, too. I like him with Gibbs that came out of Alabama last year. I think Bucky is a big-time player, and he still didn't make first team. So I'm just glad in a league full of quality backs that Dylan Johnson got the recognition there of being second team.
If you look at Dylan Johnson too, all of his biggest games are in the biggest moments when they needed it. Yep. He had a big game against USC. He had big games against Oregon both times. He had a big game against Oregon State. He seems to be one of those players that shows up when they need it most.
Yeah.
Much like me.
Clearly.
Brandon Dorless, first team defense. Braylon Trice along the defensive line there, Washington. Kyrie Jackson made it.
Yeah.
First team.
And hell of a year. I thought Jabbar Muhammad from Washington should have been on the first team. Again, a lot of really, really good players. And no offense to Travis Hunter, who was a two-way guy.
Oh, he made first team.
Travis Hunter made first team. And I get it. He's a talented guy. But to me, I just don't see how Muhammad shouldn't have been on the first team. So to me, I have more of a problem with Hunter being there than Jackson. I think Hunter obviously has the potential, but I think some of that was name and the two-way kind of recognition stuff. He didn't have the year that some of the other DBs had.
I think the second half against Stanford should have disqualified him from it just by itself. I mean, he gave up 300 yards to a Stanford wide receiver in the second half.
Well, there's your Pac-12 awards right there. Congrats, you kids out there. Hopefully you got a bunch of money for NIL and stuff.
I don't think that happens, but
What?
I don't think you get. Oh, well, you don't get money for making the teams.
No, I'm just saying NIL. Just profit off of your badassness.
Yes.
You know.
Yes. And a lot of those guys are going to profit. I mean, there's a lot of big-time NFL players in there. Nix is going to be a high pick. Odunze is going to be a high pick. Troy Franklin is going to be a high pick.
Who's better, Odunze or Franklin?
Yeah.
Odunze's more athletic.
Who's the better pro?
I like Odunze's ability to go up and make contested catches.
Yeah, he's awesome.
But Troy Franklin is really good. I would lean towards Odunze, but that's a pick your poison sort of thing. Fuaga from Oregon State, I absolutely love. I think that guy is a plug and play right tackle in the NFL right away. Absolutely love what he's got going on. I think Jackson Powers Johnson is one of the better centers in America. In fact, he was one of the finalists for the Outland Trophy, or not the Outland, but the Remington Trophy, which is the best center. There's just big time talent. Then you look through like all the receivers that were honorable mention in the Pac-12. That might have been the deepest group of any of these positions. That when you look at McMillan, the out of Arizona, and Brendan Rice were the second team receivers. There's 7 or 8 receivers that were honorable mention that you could have easily put in to that second team, and I wasn't going to have an argument with. Some really, really good ones.
All right, Meatball Ron has made the sports headlines, and so we'll get to that coming up next. All right.
I'm ready.
Here's Sweet Will with
Meatball Ron and Sweet Will.
Now.
is just, he is not as well. It's Tuesday, so he kind of missed all of the real griping about Florida State being left out of the college football playoff.
Yeah, we all collectively have moved on.
But he somehow caught wind of it today, and now he is suing. He wants to sue. Of course, he is the governor of Florida.
What exactly are you going to sue for? I'm confused here. And so
the injustice.
You're going to get an injunction against a group that has the autonomy to make whatever selection they want?
He wants $1 million.
$1 million? What?
He's asking.
They're not serious.
No, he's serious.
He wants them to give Florida State $1 million?
He is asking for $1 million to let Florida State sue the College Football Playoff Committee, even though the championship will be decided months before a budget is approved.
So in his state budget, he wants $1 million set aside.
That is correct.
To give to Florida State to sue.
That's correct.
Wow.
He said, my first grader, my fifth grader, and my preschooler, they are all Knowles. And they are big-time fans. And they do the tomahawk chop, and they were not happy. We are going to set aside $1 million and let the chips fall where they may.
Good luck with that, Ron. Holy hell. Imagine being...
How about that? And I love how he just like, oh, I've got 3 kids that love the Knowles. We got to sue.
We're going to sue. And so
what if he didn't have 3 kids that love the Knowles?
So we're just going to take state money and throw...
It's all about his kids?
Cool, everybody. Really cool.
Yeah, Meatball Ron. Not having it.
Jeebus. Get over it, buddy. Get over it. And I'm still trying to figure out what grounds you would sue on since, again, they're free to select whoever they want.
So here's the thing that I laughed at that I feel like a bad person. You tell me if I'm a bad person.
Well, I know the answer to that already, but go ahead.
This last weekend when the sideline guy went down with a crooked leg.
Oh, yeah. Did you see what happened to him?
I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, he's in some serious trouble.
Well, yeah, his leg's crooked.
Yeah, it's all
If
snapped.
you didn't see it, I don't even remember what the hell game that was. What game was that?
Lions Saints.
Saints.
It was Alvin Kamara, and he just left him there. He ran away.
Yeah. Kamara, that's what was also funny, was Kamara kind of got up to do the usual, hey, really sorry.
Yeah.
And then he saw the crooked leg, and he was like, oh,
nope. Nope, this isn't good.
I'm out of here.
Yeah.
That dude's leg bent sideways.
The man on the chains.
Just some old fat guy.
Well, he was the guy working. He was holding the stakes. He was holding the chains. And
yeah, just a regular bro.
How are you? And yeah, he did.
And I was laughing. I'm sorry. I just thought.
So when a player gets his leg bent like that, we do the, oh my God, no one look at this. This is, but when it's the fat guy in the stripes, you think it's hilarious?
Well, I think it's something about their reaction. Like, I don't know.
I'm laughing that you're laughing. It was horrific.
It is not
but
good.
you're right in that
It's not good.
that AK-41 did should I stop? Nah, I'm just going to keep walking.
Here's the thing. I think I can equate it to something that may make sense. I feel like, okay, so when players fall down on the field, it's not funny. It's football. Like they're falling and getting up all the time.
Yeah.
When people like that guy fall down, it's funny. It's not graceful. And so that's what it is. It's like that. And then you look at his leg and go, oh my God. And then you look at his face.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know. I'm sorry I laughed.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Look, I'm with you that falling, because I will say this.
It's like normal people falling.
Falling is funny. If someone falls, and this happened to us not too long ago, my gal fell down our steps. And we all laughed. Collectively, the me and the kids, we laughed. And then I had to stop and be like, oh crap, are you okay? And then once I realized that she was hurt, but not hurt badly, then it was okay to laugh again. So falling is inherently funny. If I see someone fall, I am going to laugh. But he snapped his leg and it was dangling just, it was that
horrible.
Makes it not funny. And yet you're laughing even more that it's snapped. Like if he had just been bowled over, I'm with you, funny. Leg dangling? No. That's straight compound fracture, man. That's Alex Smith stuff.
Yeah,
that makes you a terrible person.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does he get to use the team doctors?
No.
I'm assuming the NFL, all that has to cover that. He used to because he's not full time. He's probably just.
Does he sign a waiver before he goes out there?
What if he gets stuck with like Joe Schmo doctor at like Orthopedics Northwest or something?
I would.
What's the matter with Orthopedics Northwest?
I'm not going there.
I would assume he's a rebound man. I would assume that because it was in New Orleans, I'm assuming that New Orleans team doc and everybody. I think it's the NFL. They got to take care of that guy. They got to get him back on the chain gang. By the way, how do you even get that job? Does anyone know anyone that's ever worked a sideline crew for an NFL game? You just apply.
I think you got to know somebody.
I'm sure it only pays you like $50 a game. It's like being a cheerleader.
Yeah, but you get a front row seat.
Yeah,
if it's a good game.
Well, and I'm sure that's why people do it, is they think it's cool. Yeah. But there's no way those guys make any sort of money. And in this case, you get bowled over.
I got to be honest with you. I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often.
Well, and because
people get seriously hurt on the sidelines.
Because this is what I would tell you. If you've never stood on the sidelines of an NFL game, I don't care if you've been in college, standing on the sidelines of an NFL game, on the sidelines of an NFL game, it is shocking how fast those guys get upon you. I remember once when I was in Tampa Bay and I had my thumb somewhere because I wasn't doing anything. I was just standing on the sidelines, and we were playing the Niners. And T.O. caught a little out pass, and he was like 8 yards away from me, and I swear I blinked, and he was right on top of me, and I curled and did the fetal thing, and he hurdled me, and I've never been happier in my life that I didn't. It was this giant human being coming right at me, and I didn't know what to do, and I turtled. And you should not be that big and fast. It happens so quick. Because I hear that all the time where there's like, why didn't he move out of the way? You try moving out of the way of that. Someone that big and that fast.
I could skirt, come on.
You ain't skirting crap. You'd get bowled over just like the rest of us. Because you're like, oh, that's far away from me. No, it's not. It's right upon me. And next thing you know, you got a snap leg.
Rest in peace, crooked leg guy. That was no good. I also laughed at the Eagles coach who got kicked out.
Yeah, I love how they're trying to make that fat you-know-what out to be some sort of like hero.
Dom,
the head of
dare
security.
You attack Dom.
Dom can get bent. I wanted Greenlaw to beat his ass. I love how he's like somehow he's going to be the one to stand up and if I was the 49ers and they were, I'd be livid. And I think it was even Shannon that was like, how dare someone not in uniform get in the face of one of our players? Sit your fat ass down. It's not a cheesesteak eating contest. I wanted Greenlaw to just start, like, give him a two-piece.
Yeah, but Eagles fans love that.
Yes.
Because
he's
one of the, doesn't he have he has like the Italian tattoo or something on him?
Yeah, they love it.
Like they just, that's our guy. Yeah, get Greenlaw. I don't know, man. I got a buddy who lives in Philly now, and he lived outside of Boston prior. And I just talking to him not too long ago, and I asked him, I said, what, compare Boston sports fan to Philly sports fan. Like, give me the crux of it.
Because they both seem terrible.
And he said they are.
Yeah.
But the Boston is more just the whiny, we gonna lose, type of fan. Philly, he said, dude, they are effing angry.
Yeah.
All of them. And they are awful. They are awful. You go to these games, and you can go to a Philly game, you can go to a Flyers game, you can go to Eagles game. You are going to see some S. He goes, it is violent. They are violent. It is violent. I don't know who wronged them. I don't know why they're like that, but they are another level from Boston.
Did you hear the videos of them chanting walking into the stadium? The we're Philly and everyone hates us thing?
No.
Apparently there's a song that as they're entering the link, they all sing, and it's basically everyone, I'll find it. I'll find the actual lyrics, but the entire crowd as they're walking in just chants basically, we're Philly, everyone hates us, and F everybody. And they embrace
us against the world.
It's like a badge of honor. And by the way, this guy says, Vancouver Ford text line, says he's on the chain crew for the Beavers game, and he does say they have to pay their own medical bills if anything happens.
Really? So they sign a waiver?
Yeah, he says that they're on their own. So I'm going to see if I can do some digging to find out if our NFL crew is the same. But that's crappy if that's the case.
All I know is I knew who my team doctor was back in school, and I really hope that he's got a better doctor than my team doctor.
When you go up a level and then a couple, you get better doctors.
But he's not getting them from what you just said.
What you just said. We hope that the NFL takes care of it.
And that was Northwest Orthopedics. I used the wrong name. I apologize.
And did anyone else besides me wonder why the hell they didn't have a cart for Trevor Lawrence?
Colin was going off about that.
What were they doing?
I don't
Why
know.
was Trevor Lawrence taking a 9-hour stroll back to the x-ray room?
Cut from the budget.
You don't have a cart?
It was a sprain. Throw some dirt on it.
That's right. Channel Dan Lanning. It's a choice.
It's a choice to walk gingerly. Jeez, get the man a cart.
All right. We have an open segment coming up next.
I'm going to see if I can find out how much NFL chain gangs get paid.
I think water boys are in like the 40Ks.
Really?
I think so.
Water boys?
But those are teams employ those.
Yes.
The chain crew is by the NFL. Yeah, we have locker room boys and they get tipped and, they have those. They don't call them locker room boys. They're now locker room attendants.
I always think it's weird when they have the guy or the girl come by and shoot the water into the guy's mouth.
Yeah.
And he just opens his mouth like a little birdie.
That's how you do it now.
I know.
I can't be bothered to squeeze your own water bottle.
Yeah, I can't be bothered. Like, I just wish they would just hand them the bottle and then let them disseminate as they wish.
No, it's not.
But no.
No.
You got to have the hot spraying that in there.
Yeah, that's what happens.
Kind of erotic out there.
Wow.
Football erotica. All right. Open Seggy next. Do we dare talk about the NBA in-season tournament?
I hope so. Yeah.
Probably not. It's 5:44 on the Fan. He's going to go under the knife this week.
I would hope so.
Fractured fib, dislocated knee.
Yeah. So, his career is done.
And the Saints announced that. So I wonder if the Saints are helping him out.
I hope so. So
his name's Nick Piazza.
So I looked into old Nicky. So it turns out they are not employees of the NFL. They are supplied by the home team. And they said it is a lot of local high school and lower level college officials usually. Mm-hmm. And they get paid anywhere from $50 to $100 a game.
Why are you laughing?
That league makes what, $12 billion a year, and you're using chains with duct tape on them, and you're paying the dudes running them. You're paying some old guy named Nick.
His name is Nick Piazza.
Nick Piazza, and you're paying him $50 a game. My God.
Maybe they should hold out for more.
How cheap can they get? And they did say that most of the guys that do it becomes like they do it year after year after year, and sometimes they'll even pass it down to like their kids.
Because it's awesome to them.
Yeah.
And they don't even care if it's $50. They probably don't even have to pay them. Let's be honest.
It's true.
That's why they pay so little, is that people want to do that job.
Yeah.
They want to be out there getting crooked legs on the sideline.
Boy, you think that guy he's like, you know what, worth every bit
I
of it.
guarantee you he's like that.
It's a badge of honor. He's going to tell everyone as he's limping with his cane for the rest of his life.
He'll capitalize on this. He probably already has.
Good old Alvin Kamara took me out.
On social media,
Oh, yeah.
Put the post out there. Maybe a GoFundMe.
Well, I hope he has insurance or that the Saints are helping him out with this. Someone do a GoFundMe for the poor bastard. His leg snapped in two. Meanwhile, Rob's over there chuckling.
I can't stop chuckling.
Well, that's like I think cheerleaders do. I think cheerleaders get paid like $50 a game.
Water boys make $53,000.
Yeah, but they're not just water boys. They're
hydration specialists.
Well, no, they're trainers. A lot of times, or like I said, they're locker room attendants. They're not water boys. There's
they're
no
not going to pay somebody
position.
just to do that.
No.
They're going to make you do a bunch of other stuff.
Well, and most of those people, again, are athletic trainers that tape ankles, and they help out with the head athletic trainer doing rehab and stuff. And so it's more than just spraying water in an erotic fashion, like Rob says.
If it's the hot. Only if it's the hot.
They also provide players with fresh towels and dispose of those being used.
Yeah, and a lot of times they get treated really, really horribly.
Yeah.
It gets a little ugly.
I just kind of always liked it. I look at those people all the time out there, and it's always fun when there's a hot that pops up.
Yeah, I think that's
hot trainer.
That happens quite a bit.
Or,
Yeah. And you want to talk about like a profession that's fought for like respect. I think the hot athletic trainer has been fighting for respect forever and probably still is.
I always have that thought too. I'm like, oh my God, what that woman must go through.
Yeah, it's tough. We had a couple hots and it could get uncomfortable at times. Although it's gotten a lot better now because you can report that stuff and it's no longer just sort of a boys club. But we had a couple guys in the NFL that female reporters and female training staff, boy, they it wasn't good. It was bad. There's a reason why the league had to have sensitivity training for the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Well, rest in peace, Nick Piazza.
Rest in peace, your left leg. Although, like you said, he's probably holding on to that as a badge of honor.
It was his left leg.
Yeah. I was going to say, because I remember him rolling over, and I've never had that, thank God. Boy, those things just look horrific whenever you see that happen. You're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, but don't they say sometimes it's better to just full on break that thing?
As long as it doesn't, is the nerve and like the blood flow. But a lot of times you get the really bad ones like Pharaoh Brown, although he took a couple years, but he came back, or guys like that, Alex Smith. And when the blood supply is threatened, then you can, then you get into a whole other thing. You're going to have that thing amputated. And do you want Alex Smith's leg?
No.
Yeah. It's no good.
Would you rather have Tiger's leg or Alex Smith's leg?
Well, apparently I saw Tiger being all jacked walking in, and all he had was that little Michael Jordan calf sleeve. His leg looked not like hamburger.
Pretty good, yeah.
Yeah.
And he says he doesn't have any ankle pain, so I think we'd probably rather have Tiger's leg than Alex Smith's.
Smith's leg, again, I've said it many times, looks like the back of Derrick Henry's hair. Tiger Woods' leg just looked like it had some scarring. But remember at one point he said the screws on his ankle were sticking through his skin.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly not everything is on the up and up with LT Gray. It's not affecting his curl game, though.
What a warrior.
He's there doing 60-pound arm curls. Dude's jacked.
Did I see Alex Smith on some sort of broadcast? Isn't he doing broadcasting now?
He's with something with ESPN because he totally lambasted the AFC East in front of Moss, Rex Ryan, and Brewski, I believe.
Oh, is that what it was?
It was super funny.
Yeah, I saw him out there doing that.
I don't know what I can't say that I've seen him. Sneaky good career, Alex Smith.
Yeah, wild career.
Yeah.
He's quite a tale in, being a bust and then not.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't a bust, but he was for a time.
Mm-hmm. And then he got run out of town for Kaepernick, and then he kind of had a nice resurgence there with the Chiefs, and then the leg snappo. And
hey, guys, we did it. We managed to not talk about the NBA play-in tournament.
There's one guy out there that keeps texting in.
Yeah, he's not happy.
He's not happy that we refuse to give the NBA its proper due.
Yeah, he said, I had to laugh. I chuckled again. He said he thought it was foolish that we did not talk about the NBA in the in-season tournament in a market that has the NBA.
Even though our team has been eliminated from the in-season tournament.
Well, they're not my team. They could be your team.
They're my team, yes.
But I just don't know how foolish that is when we've been doing it for 20 years and we're still here.
Does appear that way, yes.
I always love the armchair program director. Like, no, I think here's what I think you guys need to talk about. How about this? Listen or don't, okay? Let us decide what we talk about.
Oh, well, you know what he's about to give you? Fine. I'll never listen again.
Great. Go listen to Chad Doing or something. You'll be back.
I was flipping around today and I caught some of the Paul Feinbaum show. Florida State guy, they won't let it go. Florida State guy calls into the Feinbaum show and is just livid. He says, "That's it. I'm never watching another college football game again. I'm done. I'm absolutely done." He's so enraged because he loves his Noles so much that he will never, ever watch another Florida State game until Florida State plays their spring game, and then he'll probably watch some fall practices, and then he'll watch the opener. But other than that, he'll never watch another Florida State game again.
The fan has like a really we brought in NBA guy.
Yeah, that's
Danny Meringue. So this is how I get caught up on the Blazers now. Is I just listen to my favorite midday show on the Fan, and I get all the latest scuttle.
And I will say it was funny today because Danny was trying to sell the in-season tournament today to Dusty, and Dusty was having none of it. he was trying to convince us all that the fans care, that the teams care, the players care. Hey, the in-season tournament, man. They got Scorsese doing a commercial for it. I mean, come on.
Yeah, the over-the-top shoving of the in-season tournament down our throats is unprecedented. Like, I mean, there are often things that they try to shove down our throats. Yeah. I've never seen an effort.
It's pretty impressive.
Like this.
Full court press.
And there's a lot of people that they've gotten on board with it.
Yeah.
To try to help push it.
Yeah.
It's really something. And I got to tell you,
it's not working for me.
I could not care any less. And I mean any. So right now the Bucks and Knicks are playing.
Yeah, Bucks up 81-74.
And then we've got Lakers Suns. That's the only thing I know. From there, I don't know what happens. I think we're in the final four.
Quarterfinals.
Yeah, because
no. After those games tonight, we're in the final four.
Yes, the Pelicans and the Heat, or not the Heat, but the Pacers, and then the winner of these two will go on. Yes.
Yeah, final four.
Final four.
When do they play?
In Vegas.
December. It's before Christmas. So I want to say it's coming up. Fairly soon here.
Is it
because the Blazers extra games that they added, they're like on the 9th, like the 8th and 9th. So I would assume it's right around that same time. You're really asking me to stretch here with my vast knowledge of the in-season tournament. I'm paying more attention than you, and that's sad. Now I feel bad that I'm paying attention to this in some shape or form. But like this was what Danny was talking about today. I just cannot buy. And maybe I'm completely out in left field on this.
You are.
But are you trying to tell me that if the New York Knicks win the in-season tournament, that Knicks fans who haven't won a damn thing in like 50 years, you're going to tell me that the people of New York are somehow going to be excited that the Knicks won an in-season tournament and then get bounced in the first or second round. Tell me that Damian Lillard, who's, again, went to Milwaukee to win a ring, that if he doesn't win an NBA championship, he's going to be like, well, it wasn't a complete loss. I won the in-season tournament. That LeBron James, at this point in his career, is looking to add an in-season tournament championship to his resume. I struggle with that.
It'd be one thing Michael doesn't have.
I guess. And like I said, I'm open to the idea I'm wrong, but I just can't see it.
It's $81.74. Good little ball game. Although the Bucks are wearing blue.
I know it's confusing, but
I like the courts. I'm down with the courts.
Yeah, the courts are cool.
That was a good move by them.
And they've got every celebrity known to man telling you about the in-season tournament.
I just don't really understand why. Well, I don't know. I'm just gonna ask a question. Do you think any NBA player cares about games in early December?
I think you care maybe about the $500,000, perhaps.
I think they're all ramping up because well, seriously, the league makes them play 82 games. They ride them like thoroughbreds, man. Like these guys can't. They have to pace, and it's part of why the league is so flawed that they have to. They're trying to make them care about some of these games, and maybe when we get to the final, it is going to be an intense game. I don't know, but it's still just an NBA regular season game in December.
No, it's not. Damn it! It means more. Means more.
So wake me up, as I say every year, wake me up after the All-Star break. And maybe, well, actually, no, let me sleep. Let me sleep in. Wake me up after the trade deadline.
Okay. We'll do that. Hey, Ant's coming back.
Coming up next, it's the club. Well, that's great. But, I mean, again, the Blazers, look, I get they're the hometown team, but
December 9th.
Not even Blazer fans are following them this year.
December 9th, by the way.
What?
The championship. The in-season championship.
That's Saturday.
Like I said, it was like I thought it was around the 8th or 9th, and indeed, the championship going down.
You said before Christmas. Well, you insinuated that it was right before Christmas, and it's not.
I did say
I feel like
I thought that the Blazers' extra games were around the 8th or 9th, and I said I assume that the title is going to be right around that same time.
You need to take an L on this.
Do I?
And I will die on this hill. I'm just kidding. I don't care. Wife swap coming up next on The Fan.
Holiday story.
tired of you.
Hot take Rob.
That's right.
We suck again.
Meatball Ron and Hot Take Rob.
By the way,
go.
we made Masters Pete so uneasy last night. See, we talk about things like the newest kink fads.
Yeah.
Where the Trump doms
political humiliation
want to dominate the beta libs.
Yeah.
It's a big porn thing now. Now we have the courage to discuss that.
That's right. But you didn't have the courage to discuss the Penn State professor and his dog. You didn't have the courage to do that.
I didn't like that
You
story.
coward.
I did not like that story.
You absolute coward.
Is that the one where he
Oh yeah.
No, stop.
Yeah,
Will,
yeah.
don't.
He was going out to the woods. Like, why are you taking your dog on so many walks? We found out why.
It was like that dude in the octopus kind of.
Yeah.
My wife and I had this conversation
That was
the
just
other night.
alleged, though.
You know, dogs throw their sphincters out there. You know, like
Well, they throw it. I mean, they throw it out there.
look, if you let's be clear here. However, let's be clear here. Make sure you are not provoking the Penn State professor.
Well, to be fair, some dogs keep it covered.
Yeah, they do. Mine doesn't.
No, mine either. My dog
Their
is
little butthole's always hanging out.
Yeah, well, my dog's tail, he's got the curly tail. So he has the big fluffy tail, but it curls up and over. So is he just out there putting it out on Front Street saying, hey, anyone want a piece of this? You know.
You never know when a Penn State professor is going to
Poor guy.
be like, well,
Although, to be fair,
she's flashing it.
my dog does not like when anything touches behind him.
Oh, yeah.
He gets freaked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't like it all.
Doesn't like the butt stuff.
No, like if you tap him on like a back leg or on his butt, he immediately sits down and looks around like, what's happening? So I think he's aware that when you have a sled dog, they have the big curly tail. I think he's aware that it's hanging out and he's got to be protective because he does sit down immediately. Yeah, you're like, no. No, it may be out there, but it's a product of my tail. There's nothing I can do. Although he can keep it low when he wants to. So maybe
Yeah, but they're not thinking about their butt.
No.
You know, like they're
It's weird though, whenever I see his tail, because it doesn't happen often, but every so often he'll, for like 3 or 4 minutes, his tail will flop down like a normal's dog tail. And I wonder, like I'm like, is something wrong? Like, what are we, like, is he depressed? Is he like, what, like, the whales, the orcas where like the fin folds over? I don't know why he does it, but it always concerns me. I thought I broke it once. We were at a park and I had him off leash and another dog came over. So he kind of turned and I reached out to grab him. He usually doesn't run off, but I just reached out to grab him and I grabbed him by the tail and he kind of jerked away from me and I kind of pulled on his tail. And then, like, his tail went limp for, like, 10 minutes, and I was convinced that I broke his tail. I was very scared. Thought about taking him to the vet. It's like, I didn't know. I was, like, apologizing to him. I'm like, I'm so sorry, buddy. Like, I didn't mean to. His instinct.
bad dad.
Yeah. It's like abuse. I was afraid of going into the vet and being like,
piece of garbage.
like, can you tell me what happened? Apparently, I yanked on his tail. I'd had enough of the butt
All right,
stuff.
coming up, are Americans willing to fight for their country?
Oh, no.
No. Probably not. And we have wife swap news. This was a story. A show contributor, Will Forte over there.
Klondike Will Ortner.
Mr. Ortner to some.
He brought this story to us.
The idea of anyone calling you Mr. Ortner is disturbing to me.
Happened today. A lot, because I was teaching 3rd grade.
Especially with your history, shall we say? It's a little uncomfortable.
History of what?
As a student athlete of the year at Central Washington.
Just saying.
Does Will have a pass we need to
No,
air here?
he's trying to do a whole Dusty Coke issue, but much more sinister.
What do you mean?
Just saying. I caught Will watching Toddlers and Tiara multiple times. It's a little weird.
Don't you follow Jesse James Decker?
It's a little strange.
What's the matter with her?
I don't remember what was going on over there. I remember you guys talking about that.
What are you talking about?
Is she smoking hot? Yeah.
She's super hot.
Yeah. Difference is, Will,
Friend of the program.
she's like 35, unlike Toddlers and Tiara, which you're watching in there. That's weird. Just saying it's
watching
weird.
Hockey over here, dude.
It's not what I heard.
Yeah, wait. What would be the problem with following Jesse James Decker? I'm still trying to understand.
She got canceled for posting like. There you go.
Was that the airline thing?
No, she wasn't. She was posting pictures of like her kids, and so she was getting canceled because she was like malnutrition with them or whatever.
Oh, that's right, because her kids were all ripped.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
And they had their shirts off.
Yeah, their kid, like her little son was all buff.
And people are like, "What are you doing to your kids?"
She's like,
"Well,
I'm healthy."
Yeah, I'm trying
to make my kids hot. Sorry for having hot kids, you fatties. Have you seen her and her husband?
That's too far right there by you.
Well, now Will's the police. I didn't think it was too far. Keep going.
See what I can do.
Hey, she's hot. She's a friend of ours because she was on our show once.
She's hot.
In studio.
She's very hot. That's a beautiful couple.
I think she wanted me.
As opposed to her rock star husband, Eric Decker.
Yeah.
Wide receiver, Jets.
Look, there was a vibe there with me.
Well, they say the dad bod is in now, right? So.
Well, at the time, I don't think I had much of a dad bod.
Ah, okay.
I was hot.
You and Decker were going to have an ab off, were you?
I'd probably lose that, but I'd win in the snark and humor department.
Oh, there you go.
He's just a meathead. She wanted somebody smarter.
She wanted something with
more
substance.
thoughtful. That's right. Like this douchebag radio host in Portland. That's what she wanted.
Yes.
She probably still thinks about me. Anyway.
All the time.
We've got a wife swap story, and it was brought to us by Will Ortner.
Yeah. Who was into toddlers and tiara and apparently wife swap stories. But don't worry, he's going to educate your children.
We'll get to that next on The Fan.
It's the Vancouver Ford text line.
Plenty of time to talk sports today.
One number does it all. 503-8646-FAN. For contests and text in your favorite fan hosts about today's hot topics. Brought to you by Vancouver Ford. Your dollar goes further at Vancouver Ford. They treat you right before, during, and after the sale. Visit VancouverFord.com. The Vancouver Ford text line.
Morning America Variety. Apparently that show is still on ABC. Good Morning America.
Yeah, I think that will go on forever.
Forever. Wow.
Well, I mean, why would you like the olds and the people at home? Like they love that stuff. Like, have you seen like what those shows bring in? Like their hosts, that's like the best job in TV. They get paid like $30 million a year.
Isn't Michael Strahan on there?
Yes, and he makes so much money.
Stephanopoulos.
Yeah, they got the little dude on there. Yeah, little George, his little tiny legs.
Isn't the old ESPN guy on there?
The old ESPN guy.
Sports, like Elliot something, I think.
Elliot? Robin Roberts is on there.
I thought she retired.
Oh, maybe she did.
But she was on there for a while, yes. If you can get out of sports...
And there's a football guy on the CBS one. Who's the old receiver?
The old receiver.
Yeah, he does. Damn it. I can picture him, but I can't think of his name.
I just know that if you can get out of sports and work over into a main... that's the place to be. You kidding me? I'm waiting for someone to... I'm waiting to boot you and go back with Helen Raptis. I'm going to be on AM Northwest. Let's go.
Josh Elliott. That's the guy I'm thinking of.
I don't know who that is.
Was he an NFL guy?
No, he was SportsCenter. He was on SportsCenter for a long time, and he left SportsCenter for Good Morning America.
Okay, I do recognize that guy. He kind of has got a Teddy
Burleson. I was talking
Nate
about Burleson. He's on the CBS morning show.
Okay.
He does a lot of Nickelodeon, too. He's big for Viacom.
He's with, who's the lady that was Oprah's buddy?
Hoda, right?
Gail?
No. Or Gail.
Gail. Yeah. Anyway.
Those are like I'm telling you, those are the best jobs in all of media.
You and Helen Raptis.
Yeah, that's right.
We're gonna tell you what.
We're going to reunite.
I don't know if that show's still on, but oh, baby.
Yeah, it still is.
Is it?
Yeah.
What's it called?
I think it's Good... or AM Northwest.
AM Northwest. Okay.
And she's just on her own now. She doesn't have a partner. Ever since the one guy passed away. I forget what his name was, but yeah. He passed away.
Dave of Mark and Dave.
Yeah, he passed away.
Yeah, he died.
And so Helen just does it. Helen does it on her own. So Helen, call me. Let's reunite. Let's go. Me and that old lady crowd. They're gonna love me.
Well, that could lead to a Helen Raptis Big Sook gaggle of children.
All right. Got a bunch of gingers running around.
Because on Good Morning America, T.J. Holmes and Amy Robach.
Mm-hmm.
This was scandalous. Last year they hooked up, and they were both married.
Yeah.
And of course, I think they got fired. Like it was too much for the olds to get over. They couldn't handle
that is the thing. When you're on morning TV, you have to be wholesome.
And they were definitely not.
No, not when you're you're putting one up in the top shelf there where Mama hides the cookies. You can't do it.
Yeah, so they're still together. Now I don't recognize. She I do, because she's hot. But I don't know who that is. But T.J. Holmes and Amy Robach, and apparently they're still together. Now, here's the twist. Are you ready for the plot twist?
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, what do you got?
The plot twist here is that their exes are now dating.
Oh, so they did the full wife swap. Yeah. Well, I guess not wife swap, but partner swap.
I mean, they kind of did, yeah. Andrew Shue and Marilee Feibig, and they're together. And according to page 6, they say the couple have been dating for about 6 months after bonding over the traumatic experience of being cheated on.
So what you're saying is they both got together and were bitching and moaning about how their spouses were stooping other people, and then that eventually just led to them stooping. That actually seems like that's a fairly reasonable next step. You got two lonely people, probably a little horned up because it's been a while. They're both got a lot of anger that they need to take out, and they're both good looking. And next thing you know,
how does that start though? Like, who reaches out to who?
I'm guessing he reached out.
He's like, hey, how are you feeling? I just want to see if you're okay.
Well, it's the Seinfeld theory of you start by you're there for them. Just want you to know I'm there for you. And then eventually you're just there. And being in proximity, that's 80% of the battle. You just got to be around. At that point, you're like a fire extinguisher. You just break glass in case of emergency, hang around long enough, boom, there you go. He's a handsome guy. And now you got it going on.
Well, Amy and TJ have a podcast. That's why this got all brought back up.
Oh, they do a podcast together.
They have a podcast.
And they were talking about it?
They claim that they did not have an affair. That they had already broken up.
Oh, stop it.
What do the exes say about that?
I'm guessing they say no.
They say they're not sad anymore and that everyone has moved on.
Yeah. Huh. Does this in any way make you feel better about TJ and Amy doing what they did? Like,
it led
the other two are happy. It's like, it's all worked out.
Exactly. I know this is going to sound terrible, but I never feel bad for celebrities. Because one, there's a couple things. Like, I feel bad for the mom who like helps the guy like through like law school or like with a, like supports him through medical school. He's raising the kids. She's at home, raising his kids. And meanwhile, for like the last like 6 years, he's out there, getting it in, doing whatever. And then like he bolts. Like, I feel bad for that woman. But you're on Good Morning America. You're probably making $10 million a year. You got access to some of like the best looking people on the planet. Like, I don't feel a lot of sympathy for you when it comes to that. Because chances are you're going to end up cheating. Like, I feel like Hollywood is just one big cheat fest. It just kind of goes, you can't be in proximity to that many good looking rich people and not have it go sideways. So I very rarely do I feel bad. And that's probably a horrible thing to say because I'm sure this is emotionally devastating for some people. But anytime someone gets cheated on, then like 6 months later, you find out there was someone hotter and more famous. And you're like, well, are you really that upset?
By the way, this dude that she used to be married to looks exactly like Adam Scott, the golfer.
The golfer?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I've been sitting here staring at him going, who does he look like? He looks like Adam Scott, the golfer.
Oh, he's very good looking.
He is very they all are. All four of these people are wonderful. I think they should all have sex together.
They probably did at one point.
And film it.
Well, I don't know about
You think they did?
Stephanopoulos was in the corner filming it.
That little cuckold.
His little legs over there hiding behind a potted plant, working the camera. Like, just, I don't know why. I just have that feeling about, like, Hollywood. Like, anytime you go on a movie set, like, your whole job, like, you go on a movie set, and it's like, for the next 4 months, your job is to pretend to fall in love with one of the hottest actors or actresses on the planet.
But that's not what they're doing, though.
It's essentially like you're on set and you're being flirty and you're being.
What was going on in your morning show?
And you're bantering back and forth.
I'm telling you, Sukin wrapped us.
Yeah, we got a little something going on.
I heard about the hair thing.
Yeah, what's up, Helen? What do you like? You got going on? You want to do that cooking segment? When we go back and work on our pots and pans.
Raptus is pretty funny.
She's great.
She's cool.
I very much enjoyed it.
She had a good sense of humor.
Yeah, we had a good rapport until I got fired. So.
Yeah. Well,
but
there goes your chance.
I know.
You had it.
I had it. I blew it.
They were trying you out.
Yeah, it didn't work out. You can't, again, you got to be wholesome, and I wasn't wholesome enough. Didn't work. But yeah, you're on the set of those. How many hours? You're probably spending more time with your hot co-host than you are, anyone else. One thing leads to another. And then it all worked out in the end because now they've all moved on and they're doing it with other people and they're all still rich and beautiful.
Someone doing it with the same people.
Yeah, they are kind of doing it with the same people. Somebody said that they were all friends. They were all close friends. And that to me is even, I think that's even, I don't know what the word is, not strange, but it's just like, I think that would be hard. Like if you're hanging around, your best couple friends.
Yeah.
And your wife's doing it with the other dude. Like, how do you not know that? Whereas at work, I get it. Like you're on set, you're away, maybe you travel, gets a little wild, you have a couple drinks, a little dancing.
Life.
Next thing you know, it's butt stuff.
Yeah.
But
it's the natural progression.
Ryan Shazier.
When you're all hanging around each other, I feel like you would have an inkling if your significant other was getting with your best friend.
But if you're in a close group, you might not, either one, you might not care because you're doing it with something else too, or you're just, with friends, you just assume everyone's being friendly and everyone's just, I can see where that would be easy to miss the signs.
Really?
Yeah, I think that's so. If it's someone either at work or someone that you're not friends with, I think that is easier to spot because you're like, dude, why are you spending time with that person? Like, there's not any real connection. But when you're friends, you're going on vacation together, or you're hanging out at each other's house, you're around kid events or whatever. I think that is easier to hide. It's like kind of if you want to hide, find a stage. You're hiding in plain sight.
Yeah, I guess, but where are they doing it? Where, oh, hey, I'm just going to go with, I don't know, Bill, whoever, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go over to their house for a while. And
you're taking the kid over for a play date, and you're putting on a Barney DVD while you're putting on a different DVD in the other room. Yeah.
You guys hang out differently than I do.
Don't rope me into this. I don't hang out with anybody anymore.
That's the easiest way.
Hang out with my wife.
That's the easiest way to avoid that. I hate to be the because I try very hard not to. I try not to attack the church, the church that I grew up in.
But let's attack the church.
It happens all the time.
What do you mean?
In the church.
I think it happens all the time everywhere.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not a church thing.
Oh, I know.
It's a people thing.
It's a people thing, but it happens.
Look at me defending the church.
Yeah, it just happens. That's why I said I'm not taking shots, but it does happen a lot in church, and might have happened in my own family.
Well, that goes back to your theory of, like, it's community, right?
Mom.
What? Your mom?
Yeah.
Oh, that's how she got with...
Scandalous. Yeah.
Tell us that story.
It was scandalous. Yeah, it happens.
So your mom and dad are divorced?
Yes.
Your stepdad has passed.
He is no longer with us.
Your father has remarried.
Yes, for like 35 years.
And your mom is on her own after stepdad died.
Yes.
When your mom...
They were all in the same ward together in Anchorage, Alaska. They all went to the same church.
Prison.
Yeah.
Okay, so they all went to the same church. They're all Mormons. Okay, and so what happened?
Well, look, I'm not here to spill the tea on anyone's details, but yeah, there was...
Who got with who first? Like, who's more to blame? Come on, spill the beans.
Well, I mean, who to blame would be my mom.
Why not your dad? Did your dad step out?
No.
So your mom stepped out.
My mom
Okay,
left.
this is what we're getting at.
My mom left.
So your mom cheated on your dad and left him.
My mom left, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Yeah.
And John picked up the pieces.
And I know, like, in my time in the church, you'd be amazed at how many it's within that little group.
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying. It's proximity.
Yes.
It's why Arnold Schwarzenegger nailed his maid.
Yeah, and
because she's just there.
And Mormons love to be with other Mormons, and so you put a bunch of them together, and yeah, it happens. I know from having grown up and then spent some time in my adult life around that. It took me. I was like, my God, this happens a lot.
So was your dad? Your dad was floored by this news.
Oh yeah, no good at all.
And they hate each other to this day.
No.
Because I've been at events with both of them.
No, they've all put it aside, and it's amazing that they did a phenomenal. That is the thing I will give my parents the utmost credit for. That can be obviously the worst situation known to man, and like just where no one talks to each other, and it was never a thing. Everyone found a way to move on and actually become friendly and cordial and all of that. I was very, very lucky that I had very, very mature parents that put the kiddos first. Never felt any of that animosity or bitterness.
Now, did she cheat on your dad with your stepdad?
Yes.
Yeah. So then what was their relationship like, the two dudes?
Actually ended up being okay.
Fine.
Took a while, but yeah, ended up being good.
Let's get them all in here.
Well, one's dead.
Well, okay, we can't get him, but
Yeah.
let's get the other three. We'll talk it out.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Live on the air.
Waiting for the phone call right now.
And then we'll bring in, you know what we'll do?
Got Jerry Springer sort of
We'll
thing?
bring him in, yeah, we'll bring him in here. And then we'll add drunk Kim Martinez.
Oh, gosh. Just a spice.
You want to talk about the club of the year?
That would get shut down. It's an FCC violation waiting to happen.
Well, we'll just have her over there drunk commenting.
There you go.
That's what I mean. And so then,
and you playing the Uncle Phil role, being disappointed in people.
Yeah, I'm asking the questions. Let's probe. Maybe it's time to just let it all out to the people.
That was 40.
Yeah, it's a long time.
42 years ago, and again, one of them dead. So.
Still got the other 3.
Might be a little. Well, one didn't have anything to do with it.
Well, let's get her in here. See what she thinks.
She came along years and years later.
Yeah, she's got thoughts. I love this.
Yeah, it's scandalous. And remember, this is like 1981.
I was 6
in Alaska. It's a scandalous thing.
Were you alive, Will? 1981.
Yeah. Real alive.
Yeah.
Real alive. All right. Well, guess we're not going to get that.
No,
segment.
I don't think you're going to ever
get
that
award-winning segment.
I don't think you'll ever get that segment. Oh, if you
Tell
did,
you what, that would win me awards.
It would be dynamite. It would be dynamite. Might get me disowned, but it would be dynamite.
You're already disowned.
Probably.
They don't like you.
No, not really.
All right. Up next, are Americans willing to fight for their country? Here's Will.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center.
Okay, I saw this in Newsweek. Do you remember Newsweek?
I do.
Magazine?
Is it still a thing, or is it just online?
Well, I think it's just online. Oh, I actually don't know.
I don't know if Newsweek comes out anymore.
I'm not sure.
I stopped getting that because for a long time, I think it was just like a credit card thing. I used to get magazines. I got Esquire, I got Rolling Stone. I loved it. And now none of those things happen anymore.
I get Travel and Leisure. I just got one new one the other day.
I always liked getting magazines. I'll never subscribe to one, but it's always fun when I got them.
The magazines are weird because when they come in the mail, you're like, oh, I can read that. And then it's like it puts you right on the cusp of tossing it instantly and then leaving it around. And you usually err on the side of leaving it around, and then you never really get to it.
Yeah, the only two...
So you should have just tossed it.
The only two that I get anymore, I get a BYU alumni magazine for some reason, and that goes right in the trash. There's never anything in there that I want to read. And then the lady that I bought and sold my last house with is great, and she has like a little real estate thing, and I do flip through that from time to time. I like looking at houses. You know, and it's got little tips and all that, and I never read any of those, but I like looking at the listings. I'm a big fan of real estate listings.
Big Zillow guy?
Love Zillow.
Yeah, Zillow's great.
If I can't sleep, I'll go on Zillow and I'll take a spin around and see what's available and be like, no,
well, how often
yes.
do you get somebody else's address and then you just go check it out? You just go look at it.
Yeah, we did that with like Buck's family.
What?
Well, we had to look up Buck's family home. He was claiming that his dad wasn't rich, and then we looked up his house, and he's rich.
Worth millions.
Yes.
Oh, in my head, you drove to the house.
No.
In San
That's
Francisco?
what Zillow's for.
Yeah.
You just look it up on Zillow.
Yeah.
Just plug in the address. It'll tell you right there, and it'll tell you what it's worth.
Well, I've looked at Rob's house. I know what's up.
Yeah.
See.
Big on HGTV then?
Times are not good. HGTV is good. It's good. When you're a homeowner, you'll.
I own an apartment. I live in an apartment.
You don't own
That's
it.
not
I
owning
pay.
an
I know.
apartment.
I pay rent in an apartment. I misspoke.
Yeah, that stuff. I think as you become a homeowner, you'll start to, you just get older and become more old man like.
The only problem I have with
you have a lot to look forward to, Will.
With the HGTV stuff is the guy's a balloon animal clown, juggler, and she is a stay-at-home mom, and my budget is $7 million, and
I know,
that, or
it's stupid.
I want oceanfront property, but my budget is $7. It's like some of that is
the ones overseas are pretty cool. You see what you can get. For
I enjoy
next to
that.
nothing.
Yeah, like they do one on like for islands, like beachfront ones.
That's a good one.
I like stuff like that. It'll rope me in, and there's always a hot realtor involved, which is always nice.
This from Newsweek: a majority of American adults would not be willing to serve in the military were the United States to enter into a major war.
I could have told you that. We are so cookie cutter soft. The only people that would do it is those dumbass militia members, and then when they realized that they had to like wake up and run a mile, then they'd be like, well, I'm out. Is they like, Agent Bloodmaster over there weighs 320 and can't tie his own boots, but he's ready to go to war.
Unfortunately, wars are a thing, as you might know.
Yeah.
So this is a problem because the armed forces have in recent years struggled to meet their needs, their targets.
Yeah, there's a guy that I follow, Tim Kennedy. He's a big internet presence. He used to be like a UFC fighter, and he was a Green Beret. He talks about this all the time, that there is a catastrophe happening in the country and that we are fat, lazy, out of shape, mental struggles, and we can't find people to serve in the military.
Well, okay, the fat, lazy, mental struggles is different than can't find people to serve in the military. I think this question is a flawed question to me, because you have to ask a better question. Like, what is the war for? What is it about? I think that changes a lot of people's answers. Because, yes, on the surface, we don't have an appetite for war. We are soft. We're spoiled, for sure.
Yes.
So it's like, no, of course most people don't want to go to war, because they're thinking of it in terms of, well, what am I fighting for?
Sure.
Now, if you said the war is about
the Nazis or whatever.
Yeah, your way of life. Like, there's somebody that is taking over that is going to do X to all women, or is, it could lead to it changes.
World War II is different than the Vietnam War.
Well, exactly.
Or Afghanistan.
Think about people who were moved to military service by 9/11.
Yes.
So there's another one right there. And it wasn't a lot, all people, obviously. I don't even know how big that group is, but there were a lot of people that didn't even think about the military. And then that happened, and like, dude, I want in on this.
Sure.
And so that's more the question. So you'd have to, I don't know. I just think it's kind of it makes America look bad.
Yeah.
If push came to shove in the right, it was extreme. Like what we're fighting for everything. Like,
yeah.
That changes. I feel like Americans would step up.
I want to believe that, but man, the Bin Laden thing, like Bin Laden's letter was going around, and a lot of people, and I'm not trying to throw shade at Will, but like people Will's age or younger, and that's why I said, well, it's not at you.
When was his letter going around?
Bin Laden wrote a letter before either before or right after 9/11 about why it was right after that's why I'm not. Jeez, Will, pay attention. He said people your age are discovering the letter for the first time. Oh. And there's a whole thing where they're agreeing with him. And they're like, whoa, yeah, this is great. I'm not so certain that the youth, I think that there's people that are older. I think it goes by age. I think the older you get, you would get more people willing to go full Red Dawn. But I think a lot of youth, that's why I said, Will, like in the mid-20s and younger, I'm not so certain.
You're not getting them?
I don't think so. I really don't. I think they'd be like, well, let's try this other way.
You'd need a good reason. It would have to be like attack on us.
Right. It's like you can't. I just think it's a stupid question. You have to. You like Will just said. You have to have a good reason. And what is the reason? Why are we at war? And that will change people's answers.
I would hope that someone at our borders would be enough, but I don't know. I really don't.
Tanks rolling into Portland. Guess what? You're probably picking up arms. Your home, your family.
I hope so.
I mean,
I know there's a portion of the country that can't wait. They're like, yeah, it's about time. Let's heat it up. I think we're very extreme. I think we got a lot of people that it would be their dream of dreams, and a lot of people that you're not getting them no matter what.
I think the problem is most Americans we're so far removed. Like these wars, even though we're watching them on the news, they're just, we can't fathom that could be here. Yes. We always think we're different. We're better. We're, and that's why we're spoiled. It's like,
problems can come here sooner than you think.
If you're paying attention,
it's.
We're not out of the woods.
No, but we think we are. You're right. We think we're isolated. That only happens in other parts of the world. That can't happen here.
And a lot of Americans think that. Okay, we got to go. We'll wrap it up next on The Fan.
It's The Fan on Demand.